Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Tuesday morning. Hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. So glad to have you with us. Hope everybody had a great first weekend of college football, a great long weekend. We are with you here on this Tuesday. We got TD for the first hour today. He's got to get over to Ascension St. Thomas. Coordinator speaking ahead of week one for the Titans taking on the Broncos today. So we've got TD for the full first hour, and then we'll get into some college football later on in the show. TD, before we talk football, you got your Mets stuff on. We're rivals today. Your Mets beat my Tigers yesterday, and what was it? That was a heck of a game. Went back and forth. Tigers went up 3-2. Then Soto hits the grand slam. Tigers come back and tie it. Soto hits a 2-run triple. So congratulations on the win. We'll see how game 2 goes tonight. I don't have high hopes for my Tigers.
Yeah, well, the Mets needed it a little bit more than the Tigers did. Yeah. So it means a little bit more right now, technically speaking, for this team that's struggling. The Tigers are humming. My Mets are.
I saw that's their 6th 10-run game in the last month, though. So the bats at least are going a little bit.
Yeah, they're going a little bit. Soto is really, really doing well. PK, if you're listening, I know it's a personal thing, but Juan has responded, and you can no longer talk mess to me.
Yeah, and guess where his manager was last night? He was at that UNC beatdown in Chapel Hill. Aaron Boone, in the midst of a playoff race, just taking trips down to Chapel Hill for some Monday Night Football. So we'll see how that works out with the Yankees in a pennant race there in the AL East. But yeah, I was looking at it right before we came on, and I am a little worried the Mets are going to sweep the Tigers, because tonight I think the Tigers are throwing a guy they just pulled up from AAA, and then it's Casey Mize tomorrow, who's been horrible. So
yeah, and the Mets got the young fellas coming.
Yeah, is it McLean tonight?
Yeah, Nolan McLean is, man, he's 3-0
with like a 0.6 ERA or something like that.
Yeah, he's been doing really well. Then Jonah Tong, it's pretty interesting, and I won't go too deep into it, but Tim Lincecum,
the freak,
right? The Giants pitcher from back in the day, he patterns his game after him, his delivery and everything.
Yeah,
and you see the arm angle and the leg kick, and it's basically the exact same, except for somehow he managed to still pitch. And this is going to be relevant when we talk about Cameron Ward.
Yeah.
He manages to still pitch with his foot not pointing to the mound. To the plate.
Really?
His foot points towards first base, but he still is able to get it in there. And that curve, I'm excited about the pitching.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him tonight. I'll be rooting for the Tigers, but yeah, as you said, the Tigers have like a 9-game lead in the division. I'm not too worried about it. Let's get into some football here. Before we talk Titans, did you get to watch any college football this weekend, TD?
Yeah, I did. I had to watch the Texas game. Should I say the Ohio State game?
Yeah.
Had to watch that. Watched LSU, Miami, Florida State. Watched a few of those games. They were pretty good, man.
It was a good weekend.
Yeah. Florida State, Tommy Castellanos.
Yeah.
Impressive.
I think I, along with a lot of other people, owe Tommy Castellanos an apology, because I was laughing when he was talking about how Nick Saban's not here to save you anymore, Alabama, and we're gonna win. And he backed it up.
It's not the same Alabama.
It is not. And lots of questions around Kalen DeBoer right now, and we'll get into all that later on in the show. But we've only got TD for an hour today, so let's talk Titans. Titans, it is officially game week. Titans and Broncos coming up Sunday afternoon from Denver. And yesterday you were out there at practice, TD. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people are looking for is how healthy is this team going to be? And we'll get our first official injury report tomorrow. But based on what Brian Callahan said and what you saw out there, it seems like this team is going to be relatively at full strength heading into week 1.
Yeah, and the concerns that anybody had about J.C. Latham and him missing practice, I had said the other day that, he told me that everything's fine. It was just, a little soreness and some rest. He was back at practice yesterday, and he I mean, we didn't see a bunch, so I can't say, oh, he looked good, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But he said that he feels good, so that's the main thing that you want to see. Lloyd Cushenberry will be good to go. L'Jarius Sneed continues to trend towards that direction. Kevin Winston Jr. was out on the field, nothing on his knees.
Right.
I tweeted, I posted on X, naked knees, right? Because no sleeve, no brace, no nothing. That's a really good sign
Yeah.
too. So, those are some guys to watch. T'Vondre Sweat came back. I think really the big thing is going to be these guys that are just coming back, getting their wind. And it's going to be an uphill battle going to Denver and the altitude and all that.
Right. And that's the conversation we've had mostly around T'Vondre Sweat is, it's a big guy, and conditioning was a question mark last year. He did a great job of dispelling some of those concerns about his conditioning, but it's a different story when you've missed most of training camp and your first game is in Denver.
Yeah.
I think I would be surprised if we saw a full go T'Vondre Sweat in week 1, but whatever you can get out of him will be a positive for the Titans, whether that's, 30 snaps, 40 snaps, anything beyond that would be, I think that would be a little bit of a pipe dream at this point, considering he hasn't been on the practice field very much.
Yeah, and I think the good thing when you look at this defense, when you look at the front, right, their focus is on a coordinated pass rush, and we've gone into that. But I think when you look at the personnel, there are times where you'll see Arden Key bump inside and Jeff Simmons bump outside. You'll see Sebastian Joseph Day move across the defensive line. Jihad Ward, when he's on the field, he does both as well. Draymond Jones. So there's a lot of versatility there where you could get a pretty good attack from multiple ways. Femi Oladejo will continue to be a guy that they work in there also, not inside, but as a stand-up. But when he comes as a stand-up, that gives you the ability to bump an Arden Key inside if you want to.
Right. And the Titans pass rush is probably one of the weaker positions on paper when you just look at the actual players that they have. But you mentioned it, the way Denard Wilson deploys his pressures can allow you to kind of manufacture some of those pressures that maybe you wouldn't get with these players just going straight up against the offensive line. Big week for Cam Ward, and we're going to get into that in a second. But I think it's important for him, like you mentioned, J.C. Latham back out there at practice, Lloyd Cushenberry going to be a go. He's going to have his starting 5 offensive linemen out there in front of him. It'll be the first time we've seen these 5 together in a game setting, but the way they looked, even with backups out there in the preseason, should give us some hope that this is going to be a much improved unit this season.
Yeah, man. And, so we were in the locker room yesterday. I hadn't gotten to see Kevin Zeitler without his pads and stuff on. Like, I saw him without a shirt on. I'm like, yeah, this dude could legit bench this studio. You know what I mean? So having that right there on the right side and next to him, J.C. Latham, I can't tell you how much J.C. Latham is going to benefit from having a veteran like Kevin Zeitler next to him. I cannot tell you how much. And there's no slight on Peter Skoronski because Pete is a monster in his own right, right? So now you've got a veteran who could tell you, like, after something happens and you're confused, you get to the sideline, he could tell you, hey, look, the next time we're going to call this, we'll just call it Louis. And that way you'll know that the guy's looping, and I just made it up. The guy, you'll know that the edge is looping in and the tackle is doing, and we'll be able to communicate and execute and protect.
Right. And last year, you look at the offensive line, and Lloyd Cushenberry was really the only guy out there with significant experience at the NFL level. Like, Dylan Radins had been in the league for a while, but he hadn't played a whole lot. And then you had a third-year player in Nicholas Petit-Frere. You had a second-year player in Skoronski and a rookie in J.C. Latham. Like, that's a lot of inexperience, especially towards the outside. Now you've got, these 2 younger guys in Skoronski and Latham, but 3 veteran guys out there with him. Yeah. I'm excited to see the offensive line. I think that's going to be the one and we're going to get into Cam Ward in a second. Obviously, everybody's eyes are going to be on Cam Ward. But the one thing I really want to see this week against Denver, a Broncos defense that led the league in sacks last year, can they keep Cam clean on Sunday? And that doesn't mean no sacks. I'm sure there's going to be some times where maybe Cam holds the ball too long or, they send a blitz and somebody gets free. It's not going to be perfect. But as long as it allows Cam Ward to play within the structure of the offense, and it's not like last year where Will Levis was running for his life half the time. I think that's going to be huge for Cam Ward's development and will give him the best shot to be successful in week 1.
Yeah, and just to kind of Will Levis a lot of times fleed in a good pocket. Now, Ward has done that twice this preseason, but Levis did it consistently. And there's no slight on Levis because, that man did what he could. He was not working with a whole lot. So I think it is going to be much better with this offensive line. Shoot, you ask Mike Tannenbaum, he'll tell you that this offensive line is rivals the 93 Cowboys.
ESPN ranked them as the 5th best unit in the league.
That's a little
might be a
aggressive.
Little, yeah.
I would say let's see them work into that, but that's a little aggressive.
Yes. Excited to see them out there for the first time on Sunday. They'll be protecting Cam Ward, the number 1 pick, making his NFL debut on Sunday afternoon in Denver. A tough task for the rookie. I went back and looked because, as unfair as it may be, you've had maybe 2 of the best rookie quarterback seasons of all time in the last 2 years with CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniels. That's who Cam Ward's going to be compared to, fair or not. And I'm not saying that Cam Ward has to have one of those seasons to be successful, but that's what you're looking at over the last couple of years. What did those 2 guys do in their first game? We'll look at that. We'll also look at what Cam Ward can do on the road in a tough environment. What would be a reasonable expectation for Cam Ward and much more? Jake Lyman with Turron Davenport for the first hour here alongside Parker Kelly. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We are off and rolling on this Tuesday morning. Next man up here on 1025 The Game.
Do to get Cam prepared for such an environment because it's maybe unlike anything he's ever seen playing in college football.
Yeah, you turn the music up as loud as you can to practice. You just got to work through it. I mean, he's played in loud environments. It's not new, and generally speaking, it's not every single play. You know, it's usually the third downs and in the low red zone where we're really amps up. But got to be on top of the silent cadence. Got to be on top of our operation. Make sure we're not putting ourselves in down in distances because of some false starts or miscommunication. So we got to be on top of those things, and really you just emphasize it. You know, and he's going to figure it out as he goes.
That was Brian Callahan talking about Cam Ward, getting him ready for his first game of his NFL career, and it's a tough one, facing a good Denver defense in one of the tougher environments to play in across the NFL out there at Mile High. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. It is officially game week for the Tennessee Titans, and it is almost time for the debut of Cam Ward. TD, Cam Ward, it's a tough ask for his first game. Like, if you could have picked a game on this schedule that maybe is the toughest one for a rookie quarterback to start with, on the road at Denver might have been the worst possible scenario. But it's also gonna test him right off the bat, and I think it'll be a good learning experience for him.
Yeah, it is going to test him right off the bat. This is going to be a tremendous learning experience for him. You look at this team; they're top 10 in blitzes. I think it was like 27 or 29%, depending on who you look at. 27 or 29% of the times they're blitzing. That's a lot.
Yes.
Right. So then on top of that, you look at the 63 sacks. You look at how solid they are. You know, Nick Bonito, obviously,
right
up front, and the other guys. And you look, you know, their second level. They got Dre Greenlaw from the 49ers. We don't have to talk about the secondary. You know, Brian Callahan spoke about, you know, how good that secondary is. And then Calvin Ridley, he was asked about Patrick Surtain Jr., and he said it point blank, like, he's a great player, reigning MVP, Florida boy.
Right.
It's going to be a matchup. And I think those are the types of things that you want to see. Obviously, adding Jahdae Barron has been good for them too. So this team is solid, all three levels. The noise is not really as much of a concern for me. You know, from having been in college stadiums, it's probably louder in some of the stadiums that Cam Ward has played in than it's going to be in Denver, because you were talking about 108,000 people versus, you know, 50 to 60.
I heard Robbie and Joe talking about it, that, you know, Cam Ward's first game last year was in the Swamp, and he went out and blew out the Gators. That game wasn't close, and that may have had something to do with Florida not being a very good team early last year. But still, one of the tougher environments in college football, he went in, and it wasn't any problem. Denver, known as one of the tougher NFL environments. I mean, Seattle, Arrowhead, Denver's probably in that next tier behind those. But, you know, I don't know if the altitude's going to affect Cam all that much, like maybe a little bit, but you know, just being on the road obviously is going to change some things for Cam Ward. And you hope that the self-inflicted negatives that they've been preaching, those the sins that you don't get some false starts, delay games, miscommunications. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the first couple drives you see a couple of them, but you hope that it's nothing that is going to be debilitating and kill a drive.
Yeah, they just have to avoid those types of mistakes, because especially with a rookie quarterback or a first-year starter like last year with Levis, you want to avoid falling behind the chains. Always be able to have that play sheet, that call sheet open to you. There's nothing like 2nd and 4. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, you know what? If I want to bang Tony Pollard between the tackles, I could do that. Or you know what? If I want to play action and hit Ridley on a dagger, I could do. There's so much more you could do. So it's important to stay in front of the chains and not get that 1st and 20, that 2nd and 15, those types of situations.
Right. Like we saw in the preseason, Cam Ward did dig himself out of that at one point. You had the holding call against Tampa, and he hit back-to-back throws to get the first down. But that's going to be more the exception than what typically is going to happen. Holding calls, especially, you know, 1st and 20, 2nd and 20, like it's tough to recover from that. So we'll see if the Titans can avoid some of those sins, the Emmys, the mental errors early on in a tough environment in Denver. TD, I went back yesterday and I wanted to look because, again, as I mentioned, teasing in the last segment, that you cannot compare Cam Ward's rookie season solely to Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud, because you look back over the last 25 years, those are probably the two best rookie quarterback seasons that we've seen.
Yeah.
But just because it's happened back-to-back years, I think subliminally maybe people start to make that the standard of like, all right, is he going to turn this team around in 1 year? That can't be the standard. But if you're looking for a good comparison of what those two did in their first game, here is what Jaden Daniels did last year. This was against Tampa Bay. He goes 17 for 24, 184 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 88 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. He fumbled 3 times. So Jaden Daniels lost by 17, didn't throw a touchdown. He did score 2 touchdowns on the ground, but he fumbled 3 times. So I'm saying this mostly to temper expectations for fans out there of, hey, if he doesn't go out there and throw 4 touchdowns like we saw Marcus Mariota and Will Levis do in their debuts, that doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. 2 years ago, CJ Stroud in a 25-9 loss to Baltimore, 28 of 44, 242 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He was sacked 5 times. So you look at these two guys who had quote unquote generational rookie seasons. Neither of them threw a touchdown in their first game. Both of them had some pretty significant issues, 3 fumbles, 5 sacks. Like it's not going to be perfect in week 1. And especially with a matchup like they've got against a playoff team on the road with one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah, and I think if you stretch it over a longer period, so in week 1 starts for rookie quarterbacks since 1970, you're talking about a 16-35-1 record, right? And there was a winless stretch for quite a few
while.
years. Caleb Williams broke it last year. And let's not get it twisted. You could say Will Levis broke the streak, right? Because and the special teams, you know what I mean? So you look at that, but then you even break it down even further. Before Caleb Williams had the win, Sam Darnold was the last rookie quarterback to win a week 1 start.
Wow.
And then you look at some of the records, right? Dak Prescott, Ben Roethlisberger, those are 2 of the few rookies who had a very good year. Roethlisberger was 13-0.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott won 13 games as well. Obviously, neither one of them started all the seasons. But, I mean, you go down to Jim Plunkett with the Patriots in 1971, won David Carr, rather. Let's get the right Carr. 2002, he had a win. But we know that things went south there. So I say all that to say this first game is not an indicator, good or bad, of how the career is going to be.
Right. You can't take what happens on Sunday and say Cam Ward is a good quarterback or a bad quarterback. Like if he goes out there and goes 11 of 28 for 85 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Yeah, it's not encouraging and it's not something you want to see, but that doesn't mean he's not going to develop. Also, if he goes 24 of 27 with 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 350 yards, that doesn't mean he's going to be your franchise guy. It's a good sign, but it doesn't, you can't extrapolate it to the whole career.
Exactly.
You mentioned Caleb Williams broke the rookie quarterback losing streak. He went 14 of 29, so under a 50% completion percentage for 93 yards. That is an average of 3 yards per attempt. No touchdowns, no picks. He was sacked twice. So he won the game, but if you're looking at rookie quarterbacks in their first game, that could be one of the worst ones we've seen in a while.
Yeah, and most of those yards came on, I think it was a screen to DJ Moore, if I'm not mistaken. Or it was a screen pass. There were a bunch of yards in that. But
his longest pass was for 13 yards in that game, actually.
Yeah, see.
So
actually, you know what? That was a preseason, whatever. But nevertheless, I mentioned David Carr, in 2002. From that point up until 2024, number 1 picks at quarterback, 08-1.
Wow.
So Caleb Williams broke a streak that was 22 years old.
Yeah. I mean, you look back, everybody remembers Jameis Winston. He lost that game to Marcus Mariota. Bryce Young lost his opener. Trevor Lawrence. I feel like that was a primetime game with Trevor Lawrence too that he lost. So yeah, you're right. It's you may be the number 1 pick, but that doesn't mean you're going to come in and immediately light up the league.
Usually when you're the number 1 pick, you're going to a bad situation.
Right.
right? But if there's patience and they allow over time things to be built, you could turn things around.
And that's what the Titans are hoping that they can do. Cam Ward's rookie season isn't about Sunday. It's about what can he do to grow from Sunday through December. And you hope that by the end of the year, you feel good about his development and that he's going to be your franchise guy for the long haul. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam from Portland has been waiting. Adam, good morning. What you got?
Jake, did you grow up a Broncos fan?
I did not.
Well, you sound like it.
I grew up.
Sound like you did. Like, what is wrong with everybody? Like, this is not the 2000 Ravens, man. It's so weird to hear everybody talk about this team. Bo Nix, number one, due for a sophomore slump. If I've ever said, I get it. He was with Breeze. They're already overhyping him. They got him like 60 on the top 100. It's insane to me, dude. Like, I hope the Titans defense punishes him. And I'm not positive we could tackle running backs, but I think we can make it hard on Bo Nix. And I don't think he's that good. Not yet, anyway. I'm not saying he won't get there. And so, but I'm not even looking at the Titans. I get it. It's Denver. It's a harder place to play, but they're not the 2000 Ravens, man. This is weird. It's so weird.
Why is it weird? Why is it weird that a team that was third in the league in points allowed last year, and a team that was number one in sacks, a team that has a top 5 defense, the reigning defensive player of the year, that's solid at all 3 levels? Like, why is it weird to acknowledge that they're a good team?
Is it weird to go, hey, I think our offensive line's gotten a lot better. I think the Titans are not number one overall.
The offensive line has gotten a lot better, but have you seen it in an actual regular season game?
I haven't, but at the same time, man.
Because it's interesting because, Adam, what you're doing is you're projecting what you think a good offensive line is going to be, but you're depleting what is a proven top-level defense.
But at the same time, dude, if you look at the negative plays that the Titans had last year, just off of special teams and Will Levis, we are not as bad as everybody thought we were. And I think we made drastic improvements. I'm not saying we're going to win the game. I'm saying this is not a crazy elite team that's going to beat us by 50, man. It's weird.
Who said they're a crazy elite team that's going to win by 50?
When you hear about it, it's like, oh my God, look at what they have to do. Could it be a worse matchup? Yeah, it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot.
I think this is one of the worst matchups on the schedule for them. You have a rookie quarterback, right? And you have a team that is blitzing on darn near a third of the time they're on defense. You do not want to have your rookie quarterback, and I don't, Cam is the coolest dude on the planet, but you still don't want to have him under duress. I get what you're saying as far as, you know, the Titans may not be as bad as everybody projects, but this Broncos team is legit, and they're a legit threat to win the AFC West, which, by the way, houses a team that has the best quarterback on the planet in Patrick Mahomes. So you can't downplay the Broncos. This is a good team. And this is a legit, serious threat.
I love you, man, and you're part of the problem. Yeah, I love you.
No. Adam, I'm not part. You are the problem, right? Don't look at it through Titans lenses. Look at it through just being objective. This Broncos team is good. This guy had part of the problem.
Thanks for the
call. This Broncos team is good.
8 wins. They're going to get 8 wins this year. Watch, dude.
Okay, hey, if they do, great. But all I'm saying is this defense is an established defense.
Right. And Adam, I get what you're saying. Like, this is it is week 1, and we don't know what teams are going to be good yet. You don't know if Bo Nix is going to take a step back, but I think you can look and see what this defense was last year. They spent their first-round pick on a cornerback too, a pretty good one out of Texas.
They got the reigning defensive player of the year.
Guess what? Your best skill player is going to have that man following him around all day. So I'm not saying that it's impossible for the Titans to win this game, but we have Kevin on our text line saying this is like the opener against the Browns in Mayfield a few years ago.
No, it's different because that Browns and Mayfield, they were paper champions.
They were getting overhyped solely for bringing in Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, they were paper champions.
The Titans were getting looked at as, oh, it's just the Titans. Who cares? But that was a Titans team that was coming off a 3rd straight winning season. Right. Yeah. 2016, 17, 18. Yeah. They were 9-7. So,
He
like,
said I'm part of the problem
I-
for keeping it 100. Look, like I'm not always going to say, hey, the Titans are going to win. Like that's not going to happen.
it would
Like,
not shock me if the Titans won on Sunday.
it wouldn't shock
Like,
me. It wouldn't shock me
it
at all.
happens all the time where in week one, there's an upset that no one saw coming. But objectively, if you look at these two teams, one of them is better. And it's in Denver. And you've got a rookie quarterback on the other side. Like, objectively, you have to look at this and say the Broncos are more likely to win the game. Could they win? Sure. But it's very unlikely. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We will get back to your phones coming up next. I will also try and stop punching my microphone every time I turn it on and off. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you. On September 18th, Tim McGraw will be performing at Trinetics Rock the Cradle in Nashville, a meaningful event supporting newborns and moms at Ascension St. Thomas Midtown. Get your tickets now at rockthecradlenashville.org. We'll be back. We'll get back to your phones here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Later today on ESPN 94.9 The Fan, the Nashville Sounds take on Norfolk with the first pitch at 5:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Sounds baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan is presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. TD with us till shortly after 10 o'clock before he's got to get over there to St. Thomas Sports Park. Titans coordinator speaking ahead of week one against the Broncos. We're getting a lot of interaction on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHunted.com about that last call from Adam in Portland. I don't want to sound pessimistic because that's not, I try and look at the bright side. Adam asked me if I grew up a Broncos fan. I've been a diehard Titans fan since I was 6 years old.
This is a wild
but
question.
It's just like, you've got to look at your team and understand the limitations of it. This is a team with a rookie quarterback. Yes, I think they got better at the offensive line, but outside of Calvin Ridley, there's a lot of question marks for your weapons. And then on defense, I think you feel good about the interior defensive line, but the secondary filled with question marks, your pass rush on the edge filled with question marks. Like, there's a lot of concerns about this team, way less than Denver has. The Broncos are a playoff team who seem to have gotten better in the offseason. Could the Titans win this game? Again, I think it is fully possible the Titans could, you
never say
throw the first punch and maybe you can catch Denver and get out big. And unlike the Bears game last year, maybe you don't give it back. But if I had to make a pick, I'm going to pick Denver based on these two teams that are going to play on Sunday.
Yeah. Now, Brian, I went back. I pulled up the transcript from yesterday when Callahan spoke. Now, Adam in Portland or anyone else who's looking through two-tone blue goggles, your head coach said these words. Denver, a really good football team. Expectations for their team are high, and rightfully so. They got good players in all three phases, particularly starts up front on both sides. Their defensive line is incredibly productive. They obviously led the league in sacks last year. Nick Bonito, 13 and a half sacks, by the way, third in the league. And Zach Allen and Jonathan Cooper, all really, really productive player. Their front sets the tone, allows them to cover really well. You know why they cover really well? They got the defensive player of the year, who he actually mentioned next. Defensive player of the year playing corner for them in Patrick Surtain. So a really, really stiff challenge from a personnel standpoint. We don't have enough time to go over everything, but he went on this opening statement talking about the Broncos is probably about 300. It's a mini article.
Yep.
Your head coach did that. Not me, who's part of the problem. The head coach. So you tell me where the diabolical thought process is originating. Not from me.
And
your head coach is saying it.
We've got Good Morning Football on in studio right now, and Manti Te'o just picked up a Broncos helmet and put it in the playoffs. So that is the expectations for Denver this year. They were a playoff team last year. They're expected to take the next step. Dustin from Hopkinsville asked, could the Jags win this game? Could the Bears, Jets, Browns, Giants? Not likely. See, what you need to look at is this is the NFL. It's not college football where you can pretty much see who's going to win if it's Ohio State against Tulane, and Tulane's a good team, but Ohio State versus Tulane, you can pretty much guess Ohio State's going to win. This is the NFL. Anybody can beat anybody on any given Sunday.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the percent chance, I'd probably give the Titans like a 10% chance to win this game.
Yeah, this is one of the games that's going to be more tilted in the favorites' favor. It is what it is. It's all good. It's all good.
And it happens. Like, there are games on the Titans schedule that I think they are very capable of winning. It just so happens that the first two are pretty tough. And if you get to week 3 against the Colts and you're 1-1, you feel phenomenal about that.
Yeah. Heck, Robbie picked, I heard him this morning, he picked the Rams to go to the Super Bowl.
Right. The Rams, I mean, they were the team that played the Eagles the closest
really well
in the playoffs last year. So
sure did.
If you can get out of week 2 1-1, that is a great start to your season because, after you get past those first 2, there's a lot more winnable games throughout the rest of the year. Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Trey has been waiting patiently. Trey, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
What's going on?
Well,
hey, what's up, TD? Hey,
right.
TD, hey, I agree, bro, with everything. I don't know what Adam was talking about, but I agree with everything that you said. Hey, but the thing of it is that somebody's going to have to emerge in the, as far as like in the wide receiver room, because Bo Nix is a proven passer. He'll go out there and get you first downs. He's not afraid to throw the ball down the field, and we cannot get in a gunslinging match with Bo Nix. That's it. I love Bo Nix. He's a 250-yard average quarterback. Can we compete with that?
Yeah.
PD, I'm just asking.
Absolutely.
With the young pitcher that we have, can we compete with Bo Nix, go out there and get some points on the board? Yeah. And y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks, Trey.
Thanks, Trey. Appreciate it. And look, if you love Bo Nix, you got to see a lot of him in college because he was in college from like 1999 to 2024. Yes. All jokes aside, but look, that's a great point about Bo Nix. I look at him more as just like a balanced quarterback, and one of the hitting ways that he was able to kill teams last year is with his ability to make plays with his legs. right? And so I talked to Jeffrey Simmons yesterday, and he talked about the importance of guys being disciplined. And that's been the coordinated pass rush, been the theme. It's on X. I posted the video, and it's all about making sure he can't find that rushing lane.
Right.
Remember what Drake May did to this team last year?
Yeah.
You know, those are the things that you got to avoid, right? Giving that rushing lane. And even if he doesn't scramble 20 yards down the field, if he could attack the line of scrimmage and cause a distraction in a guy in pass coverage and the receiver turn up, and those are the big plays that can happen. And they have to avoid that by keeping the quarterback, Bo Nix, from being able to extend plays and find that second play within the play.
Right. And I think we also have to make the point of, like, they've also got one of the most accomplished head coaches in the league right now in Sean Payton. Like, Sean Payton, if you're looking for a guy who knows how to scheme up a game plan for week one for this offense, it's him. And I think that might be a bigger factor in this game than people are letting on, is the coaching difference between Payton and Callahan.
And one of the things that Payton said that he wants to do is test Cam Ward and see how he handles pressure. Now, here's the thing that's really good for the Broncos in this case, is that by doing that, they're not getting away from their regular game. They blitz anyway, so you're not doing anything new. But I will say this, and I have a story posting tomorrow about Cameron Ward and them getting him ready for this game. And let me say this, when you talk about going against the blitz, and I think this is something that's pretty good for the Titans, right? Among 129 QBR qualified passers last season, Cam Ward's 88.5 QBR is 12th. That's cool, but listen to this. Against the blitz, he is second among all those 129 quarterbacks in passing yards with 1,183, passing touchdowns with 16, and rushing touchdowns with 2. So that is something to say, hey, you know what? Blitz with caution. You better have that coverage behind it, and you better be able to contain this quarterback because he will make you pay. So there's a good give and go there that I can't wait to watch.
And we mentioned it last week. Maybe his worst throw of the game against the Vikings, but against that blitz zero from Brian Flores, he recognized it and he got the ball out quick. Like, again, it wasn't a good throw and it's one rep, but I think that shows you against one of the guys. Brian Flores is probably the most well-known coordinator for his exotic blitzes, and he'll show you Tampa 2 and send everybody and vice versa. So it's a good sign. We'll see how he does. Again, Vance Joseph is the DC
Vance
there,
Joseph,
and he's
a very good one.
Very good defensive
But see,
coordinator.
that was a part of the building process for Ward, right? It's no coincidence that they're going against Todd Bowles. You got Denard Wilson. Say what you want. He puts some things together too. In fact, he actually put a blitz together, a twist up front that J.C. Latham never saw before. And he had to ask Zeitler, like, hold up, man, like what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got that. Then you got Raheem Morris. We know he's one of the better DCs now, head coach. And then Brian Flores. So it's a preparation.
They have challenged Cam Ward, and we'll see how it goes in week one. Again, like Adam texted in, and he goes, if Manti Te'o says it, it must be true. I'm just using it as an example of
you're just talking about how people
that is the national expectation for the Broncos. He says, you guys will become Cam believers soon enough. You clearly have not listened to me and TD talk about Cam Ward before, because TD and I, we did the show in March from the Gulch.
Preach to him.
We were preaching to all of the fans out there about how Cam Ward needs to be the pick at number 1. And we were getting all these texts about how they should trade back and Cam's not the guy.
Adam probably was one of the ones talking about trade back.
Right. We were the ones telling you that Cam Ward is the guy in March. So to call us non-Cam believers.
And look, it's not my job to be a believer. It's my job to deliver you objective analysis and reporting. And that's what I do. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to be over the top on one side or the other. I'm going to call it the way I see it.
Yep. 615-737-1025. Lots of fun on the phone line this morning, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will get to all your phones. We see you waiting. We will get to you coming up next. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport with you on this Tuesday morning. TD with us for a couple more segments here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025. The game wrapping up hour number 1 on this Tuesday. Again, hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend. Me and Parker are going to get into everything that happened around college football this week, but we've got Turron Davenport for a couple more segments before he's got to bolt over to St. Thomas Sports Park as the Titans coordinator, speaking ahead of week 1. Titans and Broncos now just 5 days away. We'll get to see Cam Ward in a regular season game for the first time, and we've had lots of thoughts on this game today. It's an NFL game, so I will. Any team has a chance to win any NFL game. I will always say that the worst team in the league could beat the best team in the league on any given Sunday. But if you're looking at likelihood, I don't think the Titans are likely going to win this game on Sunday against a playoff team. Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Teddy has been waiting patiently. Teddy, thanks for calling. What you got for us?
Come on, Teddy.
Hell, y'all. Hey, sorry, guys. How you guys doing?
Oh, great.
Doing
How are
great.
you?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. So yeah, man, I was just listening in, and it's crazy how Adam kind of stands out to everybody because trust me, I'm a huge Cam Ward fan. Very, very big. Like after his Duke game, I told my friends, oh yeah, this is who the Titans need. So I'm a huge Cam Ward fan. But going into Denver, that side of town, it's a whole different type of ball game, and they're arguably the best defense in football right now. So, with us going in there, I believe my expectations not too high, but I just want to see something that we can build up and be like, you know what, we can build off this. We can get somewhere with this, so we can improve. I'm not expecting us to go in there and go get a win. Would it surprise me? No, it would not surprise me. But for us to go in there, play well, for us to feel good about what we have going forward this year, of course, we're not going to see the first game, but how good the players play, it gives like a good feeling of, this could be a different season.
If keeping it 100 was a call,
yeah,
Teddy
well
would
done,
be
Teddy.
the one. Excellent job. And Teddy, you're 100% right? When you look at this, obviously you want your team to win and you believe they could win, but you understand what's at hand. But then you also are like, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, I want my team to win, but if they don't win, as you mentioned, let's establish a foundation to build upon. Right. And I think that is the big picture thought process. Great job with it.
Right. Thank you for the call, Teddy. That's
no problem, man. You guys have a great one.
You too. Yeah, I think that should be the reasonable fans' expectation is, yeah, they might lose the game on Sunday. And I actually wrote this down for the show today. I think the biggest thing I'm looking for on Sunday from Cam Ward is, would you like a flashy player too, where he's rolling left, like the touchdown against Florida or Louisville last year, where it's like rolling left, hits a guy running the back of the end zone. Like, you'd love to see some plays like that. The biggest thing, take care of the football. If Cam Ward doesn't turn the ball over on Sunday and gives you a chance down the stretch, like let's say you're down 7 with 3 minutes to go and you get the ball back and Cam Ward hasn't turned the ball over, I think that's a success no matter what happens on that last drive. But you can't judge him based on the wins and losses. It's got to be about his development. And I think the biggest thing for him on Sunday is just take care of the football. Don't do what Will Levis did last year and basically throw the game away.
Yeah. I mean, look, go out and try to win the game by all means. Go out and try to win the game, but don't do the mistake that leads to the loss. And that's what happened in the opener last year. I think Cam is a more put together quarterback from that perspective. He's more experienced also, 50 plus college games.
He played a lot of football.
I tell you something though, every debut that he made in college, he won.
Yeah, that is true.
Will that transfer to the NFL?
At Incarnate Word, Washington State, Miami.
If it does, Adam in Portland is going to call and say, hey man,
that's true.
Look, man, all I'm saying is it's a challenge for this young man. I can't wait to watch it. That's it.
No, we talked about it. If you could have told the Titans, like, hey, handpick the worst matchup for your rookie quarterback in week 1, it probably would be this game. It's on the road against one of the best defenses in the league, at least from last year. So that's all we're saying is that in terms of a week 1 matchup for your rookie quarterback, this isn't ideal. Could he end up proving everybody wrong and having a great game? Sure. But like, I just went through the Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud debut stats. Neither of them threw a touchdown pass. In fact, Jaden Daniels didn't throw a touchdown pass until week 3 last year. So, like, don't expect him to come out and light the world on fire. Hopefully it's a good game. And again, hopefully he takes care of the football. Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. James from Ashland City is on the line. James, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
No, I always love when Turron's on the air. Turron, I got something I wanted to say. I think I may have said it before. I think the big difference really this year from last year with the two quarterbacks plus this revamped offensive line, I think Tennessee's going to win more games.
Yeah.
I think Cam Ward's going to be more successful because he's got better protection in front of him. Now, Will Levis had two things working against him that I think Cam does not. One, you don't have any more bums like Petit Ferrer, Aaron Brewer, and what was the other guy? I can't remember the other guy's name.
Jalen Duncan?
Gosh, he went to I can't remember. But anyway,
Andre Dillard?
Andre Dillard, Dennis Daly.
Dillard, thank you. But just in the words of Jared Stillman, just absolute bums. We got a revamped offensive line, and here's the big difference I see between Cam and Will Levis that could turn out to be more wins in the win column, and that's the fact that Cam is more calm, cool, collective in the pocket. Will Levis was just jittery. It's like he was nervous. He just wasn't staying calm, and just because of that, he made a lot of stupid bozo mistakes. And I want to see if you agree with me. I'll hang up and listen. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to make a call.
Great call,
yeah,
James.
Thanks for the
Great
call.
That's another really good call. You know what I mean? Because he's spot on when he talks about the calmness from Cam Ward. Because I tell you, you talk to the different guys, and that's the first. It is calm confidence. They say those two things, and coolness. Like, he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that is a great point, and we keep pointing to the mistake that Levis made in the Bears game. And I'm not trying to beat down on Levis, but we can only compare, right? What this quarterback needs to be to what the quarterback previously was. And I think that mistake, like, he panicked. And he did that a lot because we know that he was a perfectionist. We know that he's someone that he's very, he wants to look good to everybody.
Yep.
And we all do. But it seemed like that would kind of overpower the ability as a quarterback. Because as a quarterback, like, you got to stay cool. Look at CJ Stroud, man. You know, one of the best quarterbacks ever. Joe Montana. I almost said Tom Brady because Tom Brady's cool too. But Joe Cool, that's what they called him because he was just always cool under pressure.
Pointing out John Candy in the stands before his last drive. Cam Ward, not that he's going to be able to do this in the NFL, but I think the epitome of his calmness was at the Pop-Tarts Bowl where he just stopped moving his feet on a throw. Like, he was just standing there and was just like, no one's coming.
That's the arm arrogance.
And just threw it. Like, obviously, that's something that I think Coach Callahan would be very unhappy with if Cam Ward did that in an NFL game. But it just shows you that he's not stressed out back there. He's in his own little world having fun. 615-737-1025. Great stuff on the phone lines today. Adam in Portland, he did text in. And he said, for the record, I don't think either of you are Broncos fans or a problem. I just said that to be fun. But as a whole, people are backing the Broncos way too hard. Yes, they were decent last year. I think they're going to suck this year. He says they're only as good as their quarterback. Bo Nix, I don't think Bo Nix is not going to be Josh Allen.
I'm not a Bo Nix believer. I'll just tell you straight up.
Bo Nix just fits the Sean Payton mold.
Yeah.
Of he's going to make good decisions and he's going to play within the offense.
Yep.
And that's what Sean Payton wants. Sean Payton doesn't want Josh Allen. He wants Bo Nix, who's, not comparing him to Drew Brees, but like that's what Drew Brees was, is just like, hey, he's going to go back there and he's going to make the right decisions.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's
the
point.
I don't think the Broncos are going to win the division this year. Like I think that's the Chiefs' division to lose till they lose it. But I do think it's a good team on offense and on defense, and we'll see what the Titans can do on Sunday. We got one more segment with Turron Davenport. We'll get to any more questions you have on the text line, 615-737-1025, and get TD's expectations for Sunday's game, maybe outside of Cam Ward. Where else should we be looking in week 1 against Denver? Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up. You're on 102.5 The Game. Second hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly with you, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We've got TD for one more segment, previewing the Titans and Broncos on Sunday in Denver. Plenty to get to with college football, with Parker coming up in just a bit. But let's wrap up our conversation on the Titans here with this, TD. Cam Ward is going to be the focal point. I think the feelings I keep punching my mic. The feelings of Titans fans after this game on Sunday is going to revolve mostly around how Cam Ward plays. Win or lose, it's going to be Cam Ward's performance that everyone pays attention to. But what else are you looking at? I think one of the things that stands out to me is Calvin Ridley is going to have Patrick Surtain on him most of the day. Who else steps up for Cam Ward as a weapon in this game on Sunday?
Yeah, I think that Gunnar Helm seam route is going to be an interesting one. I was talking to a former NBA player, Spencer Haywood, and he was asking me about the tight end situation. I was like, hey, man, Gunnar Helm is late. Shoot at it, because he is one of those guys that can – I think he's going to be a red zone plus, because he has the big body. You saw he went up and grabbed the catch and double coverage on that. And then just his ability to find holes in zone, and on top of that, lining up outside of the numbers and running slants and different routes there. I think he's going to be someone. So I want to see the launching of Gunnar Helm, right? I also want to see who else is going to emerge. Van Jefferson, Tyler Lockett, these are veteran players.
Yep.
Will they emerge? Or will one of the younger guys, Alec Ayamaner, will they unleash Chimere DK on that deep transcontinental crosser like Coach Matt calls it? Because that speed, that 4.37 speed, that's what you want getting vertical. And, those deep crossers, they get vertical as they go across the field. So there's a lot there. I really, above all else, I want to see how Brian Callahan is able to layer plays and stack plays and set things up. Because if they could avoid these 1st and 20s, these 3rd and 15s, second and those types of situations, I think you could see him execute and put stuff together. So this is a big game for Brian Callahan calling plays, and it's a big year, period. So.
Right. And you saw last year that at times it felt like Brian Callahan didn't trust his quarterback, didn't trust his offensive line. And there were times where he maybe had to be more conservative than he would like. You wonder if with an improved offensive line and a quarterback that you would think Brian Callahan trusts a little bit more to make the right decision, if maybe we see that playbook unlock a little bit. Sitting in this new chair, I am going full hands here and hitting the mic. But I do think it is a big game for Brian Callahan in terms of, can he set up this offense for success? You mentioned some of the young guys. Tommy on our text line asked, TD, do you think Alec Ayamaner could become A.J. Brown-esque? Dude looks like a dog.
Oh, don't do that.
That might be a little high.
Don't do that.
That might be a little high.
Don't do that.
I mean, you don't take a guy doesn't fall to the 4th round if he is widely considered to be A.J. Brown-esque. But I do think that maybe the Titans did get themselves a steal, but a steal in the 4th round probably means he ends up being your 2nd or 3rd wide receiver, not a perennial All-Pro.
Yeah, I think, if you want to put a name out there, and again, like when I do these, I'm talking about style, and I'm talking about ways that you could use them. Think Drake London, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because watching Drake London in Atlanta at the Flowery Branch at the joint practices, they did a lot of stuff work in the middle of the field. I'm not talking about necessarily, he ran some slants. A lot of it was like in-breaking routes, 10 to 15-yard in-breaking routes with a back swinging or lining up outside of him. Different ways to allow him to use his big body. Now, Drake London is a better athlete than Alec Ayamaner, but Alec Ayamaner is a fine athlete. And so I think when you look at the usage and allowing him to make those combat catches, I need to ask Ayamaner if he has a basketball background. I think he said hockey. But the reason why I wonder that is because when you look at Drake London, he's a guy that goes up and gets the rebounds. And I think, that's something that Io Manor could do too. That the contest, hey, look, just ask Travis Hunter. You know what I mean? We know what he did in the Colorado Stanford game. So
Mapletron 2.0, is that what we're saying with Elikiah Manor?
Mapletron.
Although that didn't work out for Chase Claypool
Yeah.
very well. On the defensive side of the ball, L'Jarius Sneed going to have a lot of eyes on him because we haven't seen him in 10 months and he hasn't practiced a whole lot. Do you think he's going to be able to go out there and play a full game on Sunday?
I think so. I think so. Now, will he be able to give you, the 40 quality snaps that he did in the past? Probably not initially.
Yeah.
But he'll work towards that. And I think they'll be fine. And here's the thing, right? Like we've been hyping the Broncos up with quotation marks so much. We haven't once mentioned Cortland Sutton.
Right.
They got some weapons on that side too, so they're going to need outstanding defensive play to shut that down.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims finished the season strong last year. They brought in R.J. Harvey in the draft this year. So
Evan Ingram. I drafted him in my fantasy.
Really? He was a
late.
He was a guy that I thought the Titans might have some interest in. But
yeah, I thought so. I thought so, but the number I thought would be a little high for them to.
Yeah, and it is tough to invest in the tight end position when you do have a ton of other holes. So, the Broncos, their offense is a little sneaky, kind of under the radar names. Javonte Williams not there anymore. He's in Dallas now.
Yeah, they got J.K. Dobbins.
They brought J.K. Dobbins. I was trying to think. They brought in a veteran running back. They did bring in J.K. Dobbins.
Can I give you a sleeper matchup to watch?
Yeah.
The trenches never get love. I always show love to the trenches. Broncos right guard Quinn Miners.
Jeffrey.
He and Jeff and Sweat, like that's gonna be fun.
That's gonna be a nasty matchup there.
Yeah.
Like Quinn Miners is your definition of like a road grading guard who's just like big and nasty. Where did he come from? He was a very small
Wisconsin Whitewater.
Wisconsin
Division III football player.
Hey, you know who coached him, Parker? Remember Owen Reese from the Shrine who we've had on?
Yes.
Yeah, he coached him.
Yeah.
Wow. He coached him. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good matchup to watch. I know that for the casual football fan, you're not looking down in the trenches, but if you just a couple of plays per game or during the game, just take a look at that battle in the middle. I think that is going to be fun.
Got to get NFL Plus too. You want to watch the game, watch the end zone view of that.
Right.
Yeah.
That
good view.
It might be a good investment.
Yeah.
Last one for you, TD. Femi Oladejo. How involved do you think he is on Sunday? Is he going to be deployed more as like third downs, or do you think that maybe we see him play a decent percentage of the snaps? I know he's not going to be out there the full time, but do you think it's going to be more Femi and Draymond Jones on the outside, or do you think Arden Key gets a lot of those snaps?
I think it's going to be a mixture of the two. I know they like the strength that Femi brings and the way that he sets the edge, and they actually used him as kind of like a pace setter on one of their coordinated blitzes. If you go back last week, we were talking about Cedric Gray's set.
Right.
He had to set the pocket, so to speak, like to force the quarterback to step up. So, look, he's not the pass rusher that you want him to be, right? He starts to develop into that. But I think he's going to get some time. It's going to be a good rotation. Again, like I keep bringing up Jahad Ward, but he's a guy that I'm curious to see how he's in that rotation also, because he's another bigger guy. Remember, they jumped on Lonzo Carter quickly, you know what I mean? And so he's another type of that type of player, big on the edge to set it.
And Jahad Ward, he got a sack in the Tampa game. So we'll see how they use that edge group, widely known as one of the thinner groups for the Titans heading into the season. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. TD's got to get out of here. Appreciate you coming in, though.
No problem. We got some scheduling things to figure out, but we have to make sure this continues.
Yes,
to happen.
We will make sure, one way or another, TD will be on with us for one show a week. It all depends on the Titan schedule, though. So we will figure it out. TD, thanks for coming on, and go Tigers tonight.
Hey, listen, you see it. Let's go, Mets.
TD's got to hop out of here. We're going to spend most of the rest of the show on college football. Me and Parker are going to recap what was a really fun opening weekend across college football. 4 straight days of really intriguing games. We'll get into all of it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Turron, Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Great to have Turron Davenport on for a little over an hour this morning. Schedule getting thrown out of whack a little bit. Titans have their coordinators speaking over at St. Thomas Sports Park. So we will figure it out with TD, but good to have him on previewing Titans and Broncos for the last hour plus. Great stuff about Cam Ward, who we are excited to see coming up in just 5 days with college football, and going to do that for the rest of the show here with Parker Kelly. The headline obviously is Alabama, Parker. Like, that's the one thing that happened that was shocking this week. And obviously there were a couple of other big results, like LSU and Clemson was a great game. Notre Dame, Miami, Texas, Ohio State maybe wasn't a great game, but got a good finish at the very end. But Alabama being upset by Florida State. And I mentioned this with TD right off the top. I said that I owe Thomas Castellanos an apology, because I was saying that he's out of his mind, saying that they're going to go out and beat Alabama in week 1. I thought Alabama was going to be going on this revenge tour after a horrible 9-3 season last year. And they went out and they laid an egg. Like, Ty Simpson did not look good. They were getting dominated in the trenches. Florida State, props to them. Coming off a 2-10 season, they bring in Thomas Castellanos, Mike Norvell, Gus Malzahn. They had the game plan ready, and I just got to give props to the Seminoles. Well done. And Alabama, I really don't know what to think about the Crimson Tide the rest of the year now.
Well, imagine picking Alabama to win your national championship in the preseason, and how stupid I look now.
Well, I mean, yeah, Connor Newt had them in the national championship too.
I got to say, Florida State, complete wild card this year. Nobody knew what to expect because they hit the portal. They brought in a bunch of new players. Thomas Castellanos talking his trash in June, and he backed it up. So huge props to Thomas Castellanos. But something that really stuck out to me about this game, Alabama was the absorber in this, because Florida State, it just imparted their will, ran all over. I think it was over 230 rush yards. When was the last time we've said that about an Alabama defense, that they gave up 230 rushing yards? It's been a while.
It was domination. Like, I kind of kept waiting. It felt similar to the Vanderbilt game last year against Alabama, where it's like you kept waiting for Alabama to figure it out, and they just never did. And I don't know if that's a coaching issue. Like, is that just DeBoer, where it's like, hey, they got punched in the mouth and they don't know how to respond? But Florida State had a perfect game plan. I saw, a TikTok film expert. He showed on the drive that ended with the end around touchdown, how they set that up over and over. They were pulling guards. They were sending the jet motion over and over and over again. And it ended up setting up that touchdown. So they had a game plan. Alabama wasn't ready for it. It's a long season. Alabama could figure it out. There's certainly enough talent on that Alabama team that they could end up being in the national championship conversation. But right now it does not look good. And I think the expectations for Alabama go from a top 10, borderline top 5 team to this is going to be a team that's going to be clawing to try and make their way into the playoff the rest of the year. So that obviously the headline of the weekend, Alabama upset by Florida State. Also, Arch Manning. Horrible. And I know he had a couple of good throws. The touchdown pass was great, and he had the throw down the sideline on the last drive that looked like it might set them up to go tie the game. He had a couple of good throws, but man, he was missing the layups over and over and over, including 2 of his last 3 throws of the game where it's like guys running wide open and he just missed him.
I want to make this abundantly clear, because Arch Manning did not play good. And that is not like, I'm going to defend Arch, but he did not play good. He did not. He missed way too many easy throws. My mind goes to the shallow where I think it was Ryan Wingo just had him wide open.
That was on the 3rd and 5 at the end of the game, right? And it's
threw
like
it behind him, and you got to make that throw.
And I don't know if it's jitters, you're playing in the horseshoe, and it's like you're the guy now, all this expectations, but something just looked off with him.
Yeah.
Mechanically,
everything.
The vibe, like it just felt like he was playing a little bit scared. Like, I don't know if that's the right word.
It just looked like he was hesitant to make the decisions that he knew he had to.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would classify that as, as scared because I'm not calling Arch Manning a scared player.
Scared probably isn't the right word. I think hesitant is probably. He looked like he was, just a beat behind on a lot of the things that he was trying to do.
Right.
And we just had the conversation with TD about do not overreact to one game. Like with Cam Ward on Sunday, do not overreact to one game. And I still think Arch Manning is going to be a good football player, but this is why in February and March, when everyone was saying trade the first overall pick so you can take Arch Manning next year, it's like these guys aren't guarantees. Carson Beck was the number 1 pick heading into last year. And he had to go back to school. And guess what? Maybe he ends up being a first-round pick this year. He looked pretty good on Sunday night against Notre Dame. He got some help, like that CJ Daniels catch. That probably should have been intercepted if it was any normal athlete that he was throwing to. But he looked better.
Right.
And that's why it's like you can't overreact to one game, but also you can't put this expectation of like he's a surefire number 1 overall pick before he's played more than 5 college football games.
Yeah. And imagine Carson Beck going from Georgia last year where his receivers were dropping left and right to now you throw one up that probably should be picked off, but CJ Daniels just goes up and plucks it with one hand. Imagine that.
The athletes at Miami, unbelievable. Like that play, the Reuben Bain interception, like,
oh my gosh,
that
was insane.
Reuben Bain made a nice play. Number 0, and I'm blanking on his name, 0, the cornerback. He jumped like 8 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Like watching him jump, I'm like, he's got springs in his shoes or something like that. Miami, they never seem to be able to put it all together. And like Mario Cristobal is kind of known for not being able to come through in the big moments. But you look at the talent on that team, that's a team that could go win the ACC. And, Clemson, they look fine, not great on Saturday night. Klubnik didn't look nearly as good as we expected him to. So we'll see. Maybe Miami ends up being a dark horse there. Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dr. Locke is on the line wanting to chime in. Thanks for calling. What you got?
Hey, what's up, guys? I think we had a little conversation last week, if you guys remember it, about you guys were talking about you were pandering to your SEC listeners and how amazing your conference is and how top heavy my Big Ten is, especially once again, you brought your weak patty cake SEC trash to the Horseshoe and got beat down. I mean, we beat Tennessee, drubbed them, absolutely drubbed them last year, beat Texas last year, beat them this year. If you watch that game, we were blowing Texas off the ball on the O-line. We were dominating the defensive line. He was chucking and ducking the whole game. He's a king of a check down. He never wanted to press the ball. He was too big. The game was too big for him on the road. And Sarkisian, don't get me started, but he put down the handle of Tito's long enough to call a good game. I mean, 4th and 1, and you call a freaking plunge against our D-line, and you had no push against us all game, 4th and 1, and you went fullback belly. Wow. That level of offensive calling genius. I have no idea why you guys lost that game. Give me a break.
I'm so glad you brought this up. Thank you for the call, Dr. Locke, because I had it written down on the grid that everybody's saying how horrible of a weekend this was for the SEC. And we're going to go through this in a second. I do want to give Dr. Locke credit because, Ohio State dominated that game.
He's taking his victory lap.
No, he 100% sure.
He deserves it.
Is Dr. Locke the same one who said we're disrespectful for not saying the Ohio State University?
Well, he's called in a bunch and said we were disrespecting the Big Ten.
So the Ohio State University, that was the most impressive team that I watched on Saturday. And
they'll be number 1 in the polls.
The offense wasn't quite as explosive as you would hope. Like Jeremiah Smith he had a couple of bad drops. Julian Sayin kind of just did what he needed to do to win the game. But that defense, I mean, Caleb Downs, I understand it's not a premium position, but somebody's going to take Caleb Downs in the first round and draft themselves a Hall of Famer. Because that dude is an elite football player.
Absolutely. And I've been saying Ohio State doesn't have the same problems that everybody else has. They have very first world problems. They lost, I think, 14 players to the draft,
right? But
they backfill with 4- and 5-star guys. So the talent's there. Just because you don't know their names doesn't mean they're not talented. And clearly they showed that on Saturday versus Texas.
So I do want to give credit to the Ohio State University.
Make sure you put the "the" in
because
there.
if they the poll comes out in about 30 minutes, right around
I
there.
believe so, around
If
11.
If Ohio State is not number one in the country, something is wrong. Like, I get it. Penn State was ranked ahead of them. They beat Nevada by 35. Whatever. Ohio State, if they're not number one in the country, something went wrong because they were the best team that I saw on Saturday. But I saw multiple comments. I got a tweet saying the SEC sucks for what they did this weekend.
4-2 in big time games is sucky to me. Sure.
Yeah, let's go. When we come back, we're going to go through this bad weekend for the SEC and tell you why, it's an overreaction. They lost 2 games this weekend. We'll get into it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. You can text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, recapping a great first weekend of college football here on Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. Tune in for the NFL Game of the Week on ESPN 102.5. The Game as the Dallas Cowboys take on the Philadelphia Eagles this Thursday night, 7:20 p.m. kick. The NFL Game of the Week is presented by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky and Macero in 12 South. Macero has big screens, bold flavors, and all the football action you crave. Join the Familia in 12 South for every Dallas Cowboys game. Speaking of the NFL, we're sticking on college football here, but we mentioned that Good Morning Football is on in studio, and they're doing their playoff predictions today. They had an AI robot or something come on, and here were their AFC division champs: the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, and the Tennessee Titans. So
wow,
at least one expert out there, Good Morning Football's AI robot, has the Titans winning the AFC South.
Look at that. The Titans getting a little national love. It's been a while.
It may be the only one that they get. So I guess you'll take it if you're a Titans fan out there. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Continuing the conversation around the first weekend of college football. And we just had Dr. Locke call in and tell us how we're SEC homers and look at what happened when they went into the horseshoe. And yeah, Ohio State looked good. We have a texter saying Ohio State still only won by 7. I mean, you can't box score watch. They dominated that game.
It felt way worse than 14-7.
Like
way worse.
I was surprised that Texas scored. Like, they got the one touchdown and they almost had a chance to come back and tie it, but Ohio State dominated that game against the number 1 team in the country. So got to give the flowers to the Buckeyes. But I've seen multiple people, and maybe this is just like, a loud minority, saying the SEC had a horrible weekend. And I don't seem to understand it. They went 14-2 overall and 4-2 against Power 4 teams. The only losses were Texas at Ohio State, which you're the number 1 team in the country. It's not great that they lost that game. And Alabama obviously getting upset by Florida State. That's a huge one, and that is a bad loss. But every other team in the SEC won, and really not a lot of them were close. The only other team outside of Alabama and Texas that you could say played bad, apologies to Connor Newt, but it's Kentucky. Like, Kentucky only won by 8 against Toledo.
That just goes to show you how much people out there want to see the SEC do bad, that when they lose 2 games,
right,
all
it's
of a
a
sudden
horrible
it's
weekend.
overrated. If the SEC doesn't win every game, the SEC is overrated. Did we ever come after the Big Ten, Jake? I don't think we did.
I mean, I come after the Big Ten sometimes. I say they're top heavy because
they are.
They are top heavy. Look at the quote unquote bottom of the SEC. Auburn went to Baylor, won by 14. Looking through some of the unranked teams, Mississippi State, they didn't play great against Southern Miss, but they still won by 17. Arkansas won 52-7. Vanderbilt won 45-3. Some of the mid-tier teams, like look at the Aflac kickoff in Atlanta, and we're going to get into Tennessee specifically later on. But Tennessee put up 45 on Syracuse, and South Carolina. I mean, again, people who listen know I'm a Virginia Tech fan. Virginia Tech was within 2 at halftime, but they played horrible. And South Carolina made the plays down the stretch to go win that game. So I don't really understand how you can say it was a bad weekend for the SEC when the Big Ten, they went 16-2. They have 2 more teams, but lost the same amount of games. They were 2-1 against Power 4 teams. Northwestern, I don't know if you can really, like, Northwestern lost by 20 to Tulane.
Yeah.
It's not good, but it's like, that's what I'm saying.
Northwestern don't have high expectations for this year.
There's no one in the SEC who you can compare to Northwestern. Like, the worst SEC team, if you want to say it's Mississippi State, probably would have played better against Tulane than Northwestern did. The Big Ten also nearly lost games to Ohio and Cincinnati over the weekend. Like, Rutgers won by 3 against Ohio at home.
And they blew it in the second half. Blew their big lead. I think they had a 17-point lead at one time.
Right. LSU got a big win on the road against the top 5 Clemson team. Like, yeah, the Alabama loss is bad. It is. And that's a Kalen DeBoer problem. He's on the hot seat firmly now. And honestly, there's a chance he doesn't make it through this year. One more bad loss might be enough. And I know his buyout's like $70 million.
$70 million.
But if there's one school that's going to find a way to drum that up, it's Alabama. So I don't know if I can get behind saying it was a bad weekend for the SEC when they lost 2 games One was to the number 3 team in the country on the road. It was a bad weekend for Alabama. Alabama is not the SEC.
Yeah. No, it was a bad week, a terrible week for Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, Texas, and Arch Manning. Like that's who it was. Now, if you want to come at me and say, hey, the top of the Big Ten is better than the top of the SEC right now, okay, I'd be totally willing to hear that discussion. But if we're talking about overall depth, I don't see how it's even close right now.
Right.
There are 10 teams in the SEC that you could make a case for that could make the college football playoff.
And that's the only point I've ever tried to make. I've never said that the SEC is going to win every national championship, because Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Penn State, they're all at the same level as the top of the SEC. But if you had the 8th best team in the SEC play the 8th best team in the Big Ten, I would take the SEC 100 times out of 100. And that's where the SEC is, where the 12th best team in the SEC. Like, where was Auburn picked in the SEC? Like a 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere in there?
I think they were 11. They weren't in the top 10.
They were 11. And Baylor was a dark horse pick in the Big 12. Auburn went to Waco and won by 14.
And Auburn ran all over them. Their offensive line manhandled Baylor.
So that, I'm not going to get too much deeper into that, but it's, you can't say it was a bad weekend for the SEC just because Alabama got upset. Yeah, was it bad for Alabama? Sure, but the rest of the SEC took care of business, with the exception of Texas, in what was already it was the biggest game of the year. Jeff has a question. I want to know your opinions about the new top 25 poll that was put out Saturday night. I think he's talking about the ESPN FPI that was put out after Saturday's games. See, this is SEC bias. What we're saying is not SEC bias. I just think the SEC is a better conference, but there's something baked into this ESPN FPI, because Texas is still number 1 after barely scoring a touchdown. Georgia's number 2. Ole Miss is number 4. Then Tennessee, LSU, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Texas A&M, 6 in a row from 9 to 14. So this FPI says 9 of the top 14 teams are from the SEC, and 12 of the top 25 are from the SEC.
I did see that. You know how much stock I put into that? Little to maybe zero.
The FPI is stupid.
It's like a calculation of what talent composition,
right,
strength of schedule.
It's the one thing that I pay absolutely no attention to. Like, they have it on the bottom line, like scrolling around the ESPN. It's like, Tennessee has an 87% chance to win this game based on FPI. It's like, well, no, but thanks. Like,
Tennessee was at 8 or something in the latest. I'm like, okay, that's not true.
I will agree with them on this week's Tennessee game. I saw yesterday, it said Tennessee has a greater than 99% chance to win against ETSU based on FPI. I would agree with that one.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
But like the FPI stuff, it's just it feels like it's kind of just a made up number, and
it's ratings, not rankings, ratings.
Ratings, right. So take that with a grain of salt. We'll get the actual AP poll coming up in about 20 minutes, I think. So we can take a look at that when it comes out. Again, I think Ohio State should be number 1. I think LSU should be number 2.
I'd have to agree. After that win, it's kind of hard. I mean, look at the way the defense played. Holding Clemson, who was very good on offense last year, to 10 points.
Right. And like, LSU's biggest Achilles heel the last couple of years has been their defense. It's like Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., they were lighting defenses up, but they couldn't stop anybody.
If they have a good defense, dude, they're a legit national championship contender.
And it is funny because the 2 biggest plays of the game for LSU came from Mansour Delane, who was a transfer from Virginia Tech. He had an interception and then a breakup on 4th down, I want to say, in that game. And he was horrible for the Hokies last year. Like, if you go rewatch the Vanderbilt game for Virginia Tech last year, he got burnt like 6 times in that game.
Who is this? What's
Mansour Delane?
Okay, yeah.
He had the interception against Clemson on Saturday night. So it is funny. It's like LSU can bring these guys in, and they got talent. They figure it out. So LSU, I picked LSU to be in my national championship game a couple weeks ago Off to a good start.
I picked them to win the SEC. I did not have them in my national championship game.
I had Georgia LSU in my national championship.
But who
game.
cares about what I said? Because I had Alabama.
Right, yeah.
Don't listen to me.
Don't listen to
me.
Parker. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Ron on our text line, driven by Wilson County Hyundai, asks, good morning, guys. Do you think that if college football had at least one preseason game, would the upsets this weekend be different results? Maybe. It is tough to just jump in, no preseason game, and immediately feel like you're in football shape and you're ready to go win a big game like that. But I mean, that's the way it's always been for college football.
Right. I think that's something we'll see because Colorado and Syracuse wanted to play in the preseason, do like a little spring game, but that's against NCAA rules right now. But I think once they figure out the transfer portal, that's going to become a norm.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate spring exhibitions. That'd be fun. Or, get rid of some of the small bowl games and have those teams play in the spring.
I'm all for it. I want to see spring games.
Yeah.
I'd love, dude, Colorado and Syracuse in the spring would make a killing on ratings.
Right.
Because it's football.
And do it right around the NFL draft. Like, I feel like that's a slam dunk for college football.
Absolutely.
But obviously there are other things that could come from that they have to figure out with, you mentioned the transfer portal and like.
That's the biggest obstacle in the way I'd say right now.
And injuries too. It's like, do you really want guys playing in a full-on exhibition at that point? So we'll see. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to chime in, 615-737-1025. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We got to stick with some of the local teams coming up next. Vanderbilt blowing out Charleston Southern, just barely escaped without getting the shutout. Charleston Southern did as they kicked a field goal with 7 seconds left. And Tennessee looked impressive on Saturday in Atlanta. We'll get to both those teams coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Wrapping up our second hour here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Great having Turron Davenport for the first hour plus talking Titans, but it was a big weekend of college football to kick off the new season. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. And the biggest news, Alabama falling to Florida State. Kalen DeBoer now 5-5 in his last 10 games. Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Susie is on the line wanting to talk about Kalen DeBoer. Susie, no, it was a tough weekend for Alabama. What are the feelings right now?
Oh, you don't even want to know. I hate Kalen DeBoer so bad. He is just awful. He is worse than Mike Dubose as far as I'm concerned. And Mike Dubose had his own restrictions for 5 years.
Yeah.
Y'all know how Mike Dubose was.
I mean, it's not good for Kalen, and he might be one more bad loss away from being out the door.
Well, that is fine with me. Let's get it over with.
Thank you for the call, Susie. Yeah, with
You're welcome, sir. Y'all have a blessed day.
You too. With Alabama, let's take a look at their schedule, because I really do think like $70 million is not a small amount of money, obviously, as a buyout. But in college football, if there's one brand that can handle it, it's Alabama. If there's one fan base that will muster that money to get somebody out the door, it's Alabama. They've got Louisiana Monroe coming up this Saturday. That's a win, and hopefully for Kalen DeBoer, that's a big win because I think he needs it. Then Wisconsin. I don't think Wisconsin's all that good. So Alabama, back-to-back home games, you'd think that they should be 2-1 at that point. But then they go to Georgia. I mean, I would take Georgia based on what we saw this weekend.
Georgia at home, who hasn't lost a home game since, 2019?
Yeah, right. Like? It's not a bold prediction for me to say I'd take Georgia. So you're 2-2 at that point, and then Vanderbilt comes to town. If Vandy beats Alabama in Tuscaloosa on October 4th, does Kalen DeBoer's house hit the market October 6th?
Alabama at 2-3. I do not want to imagine what the discourse would be.
If they're 2-3 with losses to an unranked Florida State team and back-to-back losses to Vanderbilt, which Vanderbilt is a competitive team in the SEC, but just the optics of it for Alabama fans of having to say that they've lost back-to-back games to Vanderbilt. I don't know if he could come back from that.
I don't think he could. Here's the thing. I'm not taking part in the fire Kalen DeBoer conversations
I think it's early.
It is early. But there's a problem because I think Dan Orlovsky put out a tweet yesterday saying he watched the entire film, and there were 21 loaf plays from Alabama on defense. That just wouldn't happen under Nick Saban.
Right. And you look back at the Vandy game last year, and I'm blanking on the player that it was. It was one of their better secondary players, and for some reason, I can't remember his name. He got like 2 personal fouls or 2 unsportsmanlike conducts during the game for just stupid stuff. And that's not what Alabama used to be.
Right.
And I know it's been a tough weekend for Nick Saban.
Oh yeah. You want to hear a wild stat about Kalen DeBoer?
Yeah.
So during his tenure at Alabama, in the 14 games he's played, there's never been a game where Alabama has had less penalties than the opponent.
Wow. I also saw that is his 4th loss to an unranked opponent, and it took Nick Saban like 20 years to get to 4 losses against an unranked opponent. Yeah, not going well for Kalen DeBoer right now. But I understand the thought of he's won everywhere he's gone. He'll figure it out. But I just don't know how long of a leash he's going to get. There's a reason why every head coach across America basically turned that job down. Like Dan Lanning said he wanted no part of it. Was it James Franklin got asked or
Norvell got asked?
Norvell got asked, right, because they were coming off their 13-0 year.
Sark got asked.
Yeah, like all these coaches were rumored to be targets for Alabama, and they all said no. You do not want to be the guy who follows Nick Saban. You don't. You got no chance, because if you don't live up to Nick Saban expectations, you're going to be gone.
Which is so unreasonable because NIL and transfer portal have kind of evened the playing field a little bit.
Right.
So what Nick Saban did, there's a reason he's the GOAT. That's never going to be replicated again.
There's a reason Nick Saban got out of coaching.
Yeah.
Like, I think he realized times were changing. He didn't want to be a part of it. Alabama is on a much more even playing field with everybody else, and you're seeing it with Kalen DeBoer. I will say, though, I bet some of those coaches who made the public statements of I'm not leaving, Dan Lanning did the whole video thing of like, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I bet a lot of those guys are lining up to take that job if Kalen DeBoer gets fired. Because guess what? You don't want to be the guy who follows Nick Saban, but you want to be the guy who follows that guy.
Right.
Because all you have to do at that point is just be better. And you're still going to get paid a boatload of money, and you're going to be at Alabama, where there's no easier place to recruit than Alabama. Like, the brand just...
They've still been recruiting well under DeBoer.
Right.
So.
5 stars want to go play for Bama. It's just how it is. I mean, you could argue that maybe Miami, just because of where they are, like that probably is a draw, but Alabama is going to recruit no matter who the head coach is. So I would bet, Dan Lanning, Steve Sarkisian, maybe some of these coaches who publicly made it known they didn't want the Alabama job a couple years ago, I bet they'd want it if Kalen DeBoer ends up getting the boot at the end of this year. That Vandy game, if they're 2-2 heading into that game, it is must win.
Must.
And it's in Tuscaloosa. That's going to be a really tough game for Vandy. But if Vandy pulls that game off, I don't think Kalen DeBoer makes it to Missouri the next week.
If they go 8-4, he's gone. And the conversations would be tough.
And it's just funny because like most programs across the country, 8-4 is a good year. But for Alabama,
sure Vanderbilt would kill to go 8-4.
Vanderbilt would kill to go 8-4. Most ACC schools would kill to go 8-4. Most SEC schools would kill to go 8-4. Like
Kentucky,
an
Mississippi
8-4
State
year for Arkansas, that's a great year. But for Alabama, if you're not getting double-digit wins in the regular season, that is not good enough. And starting 0-1 for the first time since what? 2001?
Yeah, I don't remember the last time they lost the season
opener. I saw that that was the first time since 2001 Alabama's lost a season opener. You put yourself in a hole because, you got a couple of winnable games at home the next 2 weeks. You're going to beat Louisiana Monroe. You should beat Wisconsin. But then you got to go to Georgia, and you're right in the thick of the SEC schedule. Things could spiral quickly if they don't get this figured out. And Ty Simpson did not look good.
No. I thought he tried. Like, he played as hard as he could, but he actually looked timid.
He looked overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like that was, I think, the best way to describe what we saw from Ty Simpson was it just looked like it was too much for him. When they went down and he had to try and pull them back out, he didn't look like he knew what to do. So we'll see. I mean, it's early in the season. It's week 1. Kalen DeBoer could figure this thing out. But if things go bad over the next month or so, those Alabama boosters, they're going to start pooling the money together.
They're not going to have patience.
No, they will not.
Well, how do you reason with an Alabama fan? Because you have to explain Nick Saban, what Nick Saban did. You're competing for national championships every year. That's not the standard anymore. The standard, you're going to be competitive, but you're not going to rattle off 7 national championships in a 2-decade span.
Right. It's just not where we are in college football anymore. Taylor from Bellevue says, I think Curt Cignetti would be the perfect fit for Bama. Most Saban-like coach out there other than Kirby. I wouldn't hate that hire.
Google him.
Right.
He wins.
Yeah. Google me. Curt Cignetti. I grew up an hour and a half from JMU, so I always enjoyed watching the Dukes. He did a great job there. We'll see how long Kalen DeBoer's leash is. I think it's getting shorter and shorter after the loss on Saturday. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We got one more hour with you on this Tuesday. Me and Parker going to keep recapping the college football weekend, and we are going to dive into the local teams coming up next. Vanderbilt crushing Charleston Southern 45-3 on Saturday night at First Bank Stadium. What can they do this week against Virginia Tech in Blacksburg? And Tennessee, the quarterback situation was all the talk in April. And I had to say that I was a little concerned about what Tennessee would look like with Nico gone and Joey Aguilar coming in. I think after 1 week, it's fair to say Tennessee may have upgraded at quarterback. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Final hour, next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly BI membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Again, a big thanks to Turron Davenport for joining us for about the first half of the show. He had to get over to St. Thomas Sports Park. Titans coordinators are speaking right now over there, and we're not going to bring that to you live. Usually not a ton comes out of those press conferences, but if there is anything important, we will let you know about it. We'll keep an eye on X. We are recapping the college football weekend. The SEC I thought it was a solid weekend outside of Alabama and Texas. And, Texas was a big loss at Ohio State, and we'll see what the Longhorns can do. Can Arch Manning kind of, figure some things out after what was a lackluster debut in the 2025 season. And then Alabama, we just went through the Kalen DeBoer saga and how long he's going to have. Let's get into some of the local teams here. And we'll start with Tennessee. I think Tennessee looked good on Saturday. That defense, they gave up 26 points, but overall they were opportunistic. Arian Carter was shot out of a cannon on that first sack. They were able to get the ball loose from Steve Angeli. Scoop and score, made it 17-zip. And Joey Aguilar, I had questions about him because, in terms of pedigree, Nico Iamaleava was a 5-star quarterback who was talked about like he was the savior of this program. And yeah, last year wasn't very good, but he bolts in spring practice, and it left Tennessee in a tough spot where you either have to go with an unproven guy like Jake Merklinger or George McIntyre, who's a true freshman, or you go into the portal where it was slim pickings at that point in the year. Instead, they basically make a 1-for-1 trade with UCLA and take Joey Aguilar. And based on the results from Saturday, I think Tennessee got the winning end of that trade.
When Joey Aguilar hit that deep play action post to Braylon Staley, it was like a breath of fresh air, a drink of cool water to Vols fans, because that's what they missed with Nico Iamaleava last year, who would overthrow, it seems like, everybody. But that's what Josh Heupel, I think, wants to do on offense is Joey Aguilar operated the offense at the tempo that Josh Heupel wanted, was able to hit some deep shots, was able to get the ball out of his hands quick. The run game, of course, is going to be there. It just looked exactly what you would hope it would look like. And I think Josh Heupel is going to be able to get the most out of Joey Aguilar.
There were some misses early from Joey Aguilar. Like, there were a couple of throws where I'm like, that's not where it needs to be.
Certainly not perfect.
But you're exactly right. He ran the offense the way Heupel wants it to. And I think that's something that gets lost with this Tennessee system is talent really doesn't matter all that much. Like that's kind of what I've taken away from the first, 5 years of the Josh Heupel experience is Hendon Hooker and Joey Aguilar are less talented quarterbacks than Joe Milton and Nico Iamaleava.
Yep.
Like when you're looking at just central casting, what do you want from a quarterback? Big, strong arm, athletic. Joe Milton and Nico were exactly that. But Hendon Hooker and Joey Aguilar were smart and knew exactly where the ball needs to go. And it seems like that's what works better for Josh Heupel's offense. You don't need the 5-star quarterback. You just got to find a guy who knows how to run that system.
And think about it. Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton both could not win the starting jobs at Virginia Tech and Michigan, respectively. And he gave them a chance in the NFL. And that's what bothers me when so many people say Josh Heupel's offense does not translate to the NFL. Well, for one, it's really early. But two, Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton wouldn't have been drafted if they did not go to Josh Heupel.
Joe Milton would have.
You think Joe Milton still would have?
I mean, you can throw a ball 80 yards in the air. Somebody's going to take a chance on you.
Okay. But he soaked every last drop of talent out of them that he possibly could. Joe Milton did not perform like that at Michigan.
I agree.
And it wasn't great, but it was still fine.
When Hendon Hooker got benched at Virginia Tech, I thought we'd never hear from him again. Like, I thought he might go to, he grew up in Winston-Salem, I believe, somewhere in North Carolina. I thought he might go to, Wake Forest and be an average quarterback for a couple years and then, never play in the NFL. Tennessee turned him into a Heisman candidate, the Heisman favorite at one point. So, I had a lot of questions about Aguilar. I mean, he threw 14 picks in the Sun Belt. It didn't seem like it was going to be the most natural fit. And it wasn't perfect on Saturday. And we don't know how good Syracuse is going to be, but they won 10 games last year. I think that was a huge step in the right direction. And with the talent elsewhere on this Tennessee roster, it makes you think maybe this team could be around the playoff conversation. I don't know if I would put them in the playoff field, but I think the performance from Aguilar takes them from, 20 to 25 back into the teens. And we'll see where it goes from there. Big test coming up against Georgia. And I know Tim on our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com wants to talk about that game. Tim, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I'm a Georgia fan, and it looks like we're going to have two undefeated teams playing on September 13th. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to be there first time. Well, not first time. It's been a long time since I've been to Knoxville, and I just wanted to hear what y'all think about that game.
Yeah, Georgia, they didn't give Georgia too many breaks early in the season. Not that they need it. And thank you for the call, Tim. Having to go to Knoxville and you play Alabama at home. Those are two big games. And if Georgia wants to prove that they are still at the very top of the SEC and the very top of college football, those are games that they have to win. Tennessee, I don't know if they're going to be good enough to compete with a team like Georgia this year.
Georgia has been the lone Achilles heel in Josh Heupel's heel because they've been able to beat Alabama twice. They've beaten Florida twice. He has yet to beat Georgia. The way Tennessee, if they were to win this game, hypothetically, right now I'm leaning strongly towards Georgia, but if they were to win the game, I think it would be the defensive pressure against Georgia's offensive line, who they have a bunch of new guys, not a lot of experience. If they were to win the game, I think that is how they would do it. But as Tim said, I'm leaning towards Georgia right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at this Tennessee schedule. Georgia is the one that you look at and you say it's the top 5 team. It is in Knoxville, though, which is always helpful. You don't want to have to go out there to Athens. And outside of that, like Alabama was one that you look at and you're like, and not Alabama, third Saturday in October, always going to be a tough one. I'll use the cliche. You can throw the records out when those two teams play each other. But Alabama doesn't look like a world beater. And outside of that, you've got Oklahoma and then at Florida late in the season, Vandy. Like, there's a case to be made that Tennessee could win 9 or 10 games this year. And, Aguilar has to stay consistent, but it looked good. They passed the first test, which I think we talked about this last week of, can they prove that they can still be an explosive offense with Joey Aguilar at quarterback? And they did. So I'm excited to see what Tennessee does. They'll have ETSU this week, and we mentioned ESPN FPI giving them greater than a 99% chance to win the game. Feel pretty good about that one.
Yeah, so ETSU I'm not worried about, but how will things look for Joey Aguilar translating from week 2 to week 3 against a pretty solid Georgia defense?
Yep.
That is going to be the biggest test, no
right.
doubt.
This is one, like, you don't want to look ahead to Georgia, but your goal against ETSU is to put yourself in the best position against Georgia. So we'll see what Joey Aguilar can do. Chip from Mount Juliet on our text line says, Aguilar is a better talent and motivator than Nico. He needs to get in sync a bit more, but he seems to be more dynamic. I will tell you now, Joey Aguilar is not a better talent than Nico Iamaleava. Like, if you're just looking at quarterback talent and traits, Joey Aguilar doesn't have as many or as good of traits as Nico Iamaleava, but it seems like he does more with less. And quarterback, 90% of playing quarterback is in your head. Like,
it's a good amount of it.
If you're looking for the prototypical NFL quarterback prospect, it's Will Levis. Like, Will Levis did exactly what you would want an NFL quarterback to do from the neck down. But if you can't get the head right, that's the issue. And Nico never seemed to be able to do that. And he did not look good against Utah in an absolute stomping on Saturday night.
Absolutely. I'd say Aguilar's definitely, he's more experienced, and I would argue that he's probably a little bit, because he's more vocal than Nico was. So I'd say that he does a better job getting the guys motivated to play, and they seem to rally around him right now. But Nico was a 5-star. Joey Aguilar, he went to junior college. So
yes, you can easily say, just based on, like, if you're looking for an NFL prospect, that's Nico. And I think Nico, even if he's horrible at UCLA, he'll stick around and he'll probably still get drafted at some point, just based off of the reputation. Joey Aguilar is probably not an NFL quarterback, but you don't have to be an NFL quarterback to win in college. We've seen that so many times. Like, Johnny Manziel was never an NFL quarterback. Tim Tebow was never an NFL quarterback. Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt, I would argue that he probably will get drafted, maybe late or signed as an undrafted free agent. Somebody will give him a chance, but he doesn't have the traits to be an NFL quarterback. But you don't have to be to win in the college in college. So
right, Nico will get drafted, and if he doesn't perform at UCLA, I could see him being a 6th, 7th round, but he'll get drafted based on pedigree. James Williams was a former 5-star, and he got drafted in the 7th round.
Right.
So
that's what draft, like the NFL care. It's not quite the NBA, where the NBA only cares about athletic traits. And it's like, you could score 3 points a game in college, but if you're 6'7" and can jump out of the gym, they're going to draft you because of the potential. The NFL is not quite to that level, but it's close. It's like, they're going to give the guys with the athletic ability a chance because they can mold the other stuff. The guys who are coachable and smart, it's like Xavier Restrepo. Like, at some point, you're just not a good enough athlete to play at that level. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to chime in, Dustin from Hopkinsville says, bro, after seeing Arch, I'd take Aguilar over Arch. I like him. Maybe to win one game right now. I mean, I wouldn't say that's completely out of the discussion, but like in terms of long-term potential, yeah, I'm taking Arch Manning. 615-737-1025. Vanderbilt also looked impressive on Saturday night against Charleston Southern. Diego Pavia, I thought, improved on one big aspect of his game. We'll talk about that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Had TD on earlier, so if you missed our conversation with Turron Davenport, you can go find it on the podcast. Good stuff with TD, getting ready for Week 1, Titans and Broncos coming up on Sunday. We will be previewing that game all week long here on 102.5 The Game, but it is the Tuesday after Labor Day weekend. We got plenty to get into with college football. I feel like we haven't even really scratched the surface on some big topics. We'll get to all of them coming up in these last couple of segments, but did want to touch on Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt played Charleston Southern on Saturday. So there isn't a whole lot that you can pull from that game. Charleston Southern was a 1-11 FCS team last year. So like it was more about Vanderbilt than it was anything Charleston Southern did. Vandy dominated that game. It was 45-0 until 7 seconds left when Charleston Southern kicked a field goal to avoid the shutout. But Diego Pavia, I thought, improved on one big aspect of his game. And Pavia, we were just talking about how you don't have to be an NFL-type quarterback to have success in college, and Pavia is kind of the perfect example of that. He's not big. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but he makes all the right decisions. But I thought his deep ball looked a lot better on Saturday night. And I don't know how many people out there outside of Vandy fans actually watched that game, but I was up in the booth, and he hit the ball down the sideline to Eli Stowers, dropped it in the bucket. He hit Cedric Alexander in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown. It was a great catch by Seti, but another good throw. He had the one to Richie Hoskins that was called back by a penalty. Like, I thought the deep ball was much improved for Diego Pavia, and that was something that he needed to be better at, being able to push the ball downfield. We saw him do it a couple of times last year. Every quarterback's going to throw the deep ball every once in a while, and he hit the one against Alabama on the 4th down. He's done it, but I just thought it was consistently on target on Saturday night, and that's a big development because Diego Pavia, what made him so great last year was the option plays and, being able to keep the defense on its toes, and he'd be accurate in the short to mid-range. If he can add a good deep ball to that, that opens up a lot for this Vandy offense.
Absolutely. And I wasn't majorly in tune with this game because at the same time as Clemson LSU, if I'm just being honest, but I went back and I watched some highlights from Diego Pavia, and it did seem like the deep ball was a lot better. Just looking at the box score, 20 for 25, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns.
And he only played the first half, basically.
Looked good. He looked good.
I thought it was a great start for Vanderbilt. That's one of those games where all you can really do is disappoint. Like they're really, unless they had beaten Charleston Southern 70-0, like there's nothing you could do that would be all that encouraging because you're expected to win that game by a lot. But they did what they were expected to do. They did what they had to do. The defense looked good. They made plays. CJ Hurd, the safety transfer from Florida Atlantic, had an interception. You got to see that defensive line that struggled with injuries last year with, Corday Sidnor was out, blanking on the MTSU transfer who had a sack on
I know
Saturday
who you're talking
night.
about. I'm blanking on his
Number
name
15. Too. He had a sack late in the game. They look good. Overall, I thought they looked good. The cornerbacks are improved from last year. I think Vandy did exactly what they needed to do. Now you go into this tough 2-game stretch on the road. You go Virginia Tech on Saturday, and then the next week you're playing South Carolina. Those two teams played on Sunday afternoon. And based on what I saw from Virginia Tech, I think Vandy should win this game. And it was funny, the opening line was Virginia Tech by 3. And I'm wondering if that's just that it's in Blacksburg and that's going to give them a little bit of an edge. But that line has dropped, I think, almost to a pick 'em in the last 24 hours. People are hammering Vandy, and I'm with them. Like I think Vanderbilt's the better team. Obviously, it's a road environment. It's a night game. It's the first home night game in Blacksburg, which always gets more people out there. Because even though Tech lost to South Carolina, there's still some hope for the season at this point. So it's going to be a rocking atmosphere. I think Vandy can handle it. They went into LSU last year, and they struck first against the Tigers. I think that's going to be crucial on Saturday night for Vanderbilt is you got to punch Tech in the face and get that crowd out of the game because when you line it up on paper, I think Vandy is just the better team.
Right. On paper, Vanderbilt has the better roster, but I will say Virginia Tech's defense, I thought played very well in the first half against South Carolina, very limiting their explosive plays. It's not going to be an easy environment because it's still Lane Stadium, which you would one of the most underrated environments in college football, I would say. So it's going to be a tough environment for Vandy regardless, but on paper, they should win. We'll just have to see. Does Virginia Tech find a way for their defense to play the entire game instead of just one half? Who knows?
I mean, the punt return in the third quarter by South Carolina ended that game. The Hokies defense was hanging in there, and the offense couldn't score, but that punt return, it cost them. And that was poor coaching again, because they had to punt it again after one of the gunners wasn't lined up on the line of scrimmage. So they had to redo the kick and ended up giving up the touchdown. So, the Hokies were in that game, but I think you saw the limitations that they have, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Vanderbilt, if they can go into Tech and win, you're playing with house money when you go to Columbia next week, because that's a game no one really would expect Vandy to win. I don't know what the stat is of the last time Vanderbilt won a game in Columbia, but it's been a long time. That's just kind of been their Achilles heel. So you win on Saturday against Virginia Tech. You're 2-0, and you've got games against Georgia State and Utah State at home coming up the next couple weeks. You're playing with house money, and you can go in playing loose against South Carolina, because guess what? You win that game, it's a good chance you're 5-0 heading to Alabama.
Oh yeah, which would be a huge, because look at their next games after Alabama. You have LSU. Granted, that game's at home. Missouri is also at home, and then you're on the road at Texas. And then you have Auburn.
Yeah,
it's a tough 5-game stretch for them.
And I don't think Vandy's going to be able to beat South Carolina. I think the Gamecocks, they didn't look phenomenal on Sunday afternoon, but they did more than enough defensively to slow down Tech, and Kyron Drones didn't help himself out. But I thought Lenora Sellers, when he needed to, he made a ton of big plays, including the touchdown deep to Nick Harbor, Nick Harbor is a freak of nature. That is a big, fast man out there who just burned the secondary, went deep, and that was game over at that point. So I like South Carolina, and I think that's going to be a fun game in a couple of weeks when Vandy heads down to Columbia.
Absolutely. If Nick Harbor puts it all together, it's just a cheat code, because right now he kind of struggles catching the football. Like, he sometimes body catches it.
Right.
If he learns to catch with his hands, it's a first-round pick there.
Right. That's what we were just talking about with the quarterbacks. It's like these guys who have the raw abilities. It's like the coaches just believe they can teach them to do the little things. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. But Nick Harbor is one of those athletes where if they can teach him to be a football player instead of just an athlete, he's going to be a really big problem for SEC defenses. Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Eli is on the line wanting to talk Vanderbilt. Eli, what you got for us?
Yeah, hey, I was just wondering, at the beginning of the season, they said the schedule's looking really tough. But now after seeing how Alabama played and how the other teams are playing, it doesn't look that tough. Vanderbilt came out and really stomped an out-of-conference team, and they're looking like they could be a playoff contender. I'd just like to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Eli. You're right that Vandy's schedule it's one game for Alabama, and I know Alabama fans are going crazy, but that's still a really talented Crimson Tide team. Like, the result on Saturday doesn't really make me think that Alabama's just going to go 6-6 this year. There's still so much talent around that Alabama squad. And who knows, maybe they just bottom out and crater and DeBoer's gone by October.
And we also don't know how good Florida State is. Florida State could be a 6-6 team. We just don't know. So we got to see how this plays out, because Florida State could be, again, barely competing for a bowl eligibility.
It's week 1, so we can't make sweeping declarations about what teams are going to be. But I do agree with you, Eli, that this schedule, it looks a little bit more doable after what we saw in week 1. Like, do I think Vandy could go into Alabama or Texas and win those games? It's unlikely. Like, those are tough places to go play against teams that just load in 5 stars every single year. LSU looks like they're going to be really good. They come here. But you do look at the other games in the SEC, like Missouri and Nashville. That is a winnable game. You took them to 2 overtimes, 3 overtimes in Como last year. Auburn, they look good this week, but you beat them last year, and Diego Pavi's got Hugh Freeze's numbers. So that one's winnable. Kentucky did not look good on Saturday. And I believe it was Dustin from Hopkinsville said the boys in blue looked dope. You beat Toledo by 8. I didn't watch the game, but I saw some tweets about Zach Calzada not being the guy at quarterback. So
we have so many Kentucky texters. I don't know where they're coming from,
think
but we have so many.
It might just be Connor with a whole bunch of burner accounts. Vandy, in order to get in the playoff conversation, which I think is a bit of a stretch, I think you got to win 9 games, and that's
like minimum
9. And it's tough with at Alabama, LSU, at Texas, at Tennessee. That means you've got to win minimum one of the at South Carolina. You got to win 2 of those games. That's a tough task for any team in the SEC. And so I do think Vandy is going to take a step forward this year, but it may not be a 3-win step forward. I think it might be a 1 or 2-win step forward. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Looking at a big weekend of college football to start off the 2025 season. There's a couple more stories we haven't gotten to yet. The big one from last night, Bill Belichick, blown out in his debut. We'll get into some Chapel Bill in the final half hour of the show. And also Garrett Nussmeier taking the early lead for quarterback 1 in the 2026 draft. We'll talk about it all in these last couple segments. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, the game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, going through a busy weekend of college football. Football season's back. We got 5 straight days of college football, punctuated by Bill Belichick's debut last night. Chapel Bill taking on TCU. Before we get into his debut, which was not a good one, Dustin from Hopkinsville texting in, he was telling us how good Kentucky looked. And, all I saw was the final score and some tweets from Connor Newt. That is literally all I had to go off of. And they only beat Toledo by 8. But Dustin has asked ChatGPT how Kentucky looked. He said they look good, especially in key areas. Their ground game was potent and decisive. The offensive line played textbook, perfect football, and the defense dominated for most of the game. Next up is Ole Miss in a high-stakes home matchup. So I guess we'll see. If Kentucky can play with Ole Miss, I will retract my statement that Kentucky did not look good. But, and I guess, we were taking the Good Morning Football AI saying that the Titans are going to win the division. So I guess if we're taking one AI, we have to take all of them. So I guess ChatGPT loved the way Kentucky looked in their 8-point win over Toledo on Saturday. Chapel Bill last night. I mean, did you watch the full hour-long pregame that they did before?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
that's all they talked about was Bill Belichick.
They flew in the whole game day crew for UNC TCU, which, most of the time is not a high-stakes primetime game. But it's Bill Belichick's debut, and they had Teddy Bruschi on there. They had Randy Moss on. They were taking selfies with Bill before the game. I saw Michael Jordan was in attendance. Mia Hamm was there. Lawrence Taylor, Julius Peppers, all the North Carolina greats.
Roy Williams was there. All UNC royalty.
Roy Williams was up in the booth with Jordan Hudson. Bill Belichick better be careful. She has it tight. And it started great. It started off perfect for UNC. Gio Lopez going right down the field, touchdown Tar Heels. And I have to admit, I was sitting there on the couch. I was like, man, Bill Belichick, maybe he's legit. Like I was skeptical about whether he would work at the college football level. And I'm not ready to take a victory lap because it's one game. Again, we can't overreact to 1 week. But they looked absolutely pitiful the rest of that game. 41 unanswered points from TCU. And credit to TCU. That quarterback, Hoover, is it Josh Hoover?
Josh Hoover, baby.
He looked awesome. Like I'm on the Josh Hoover bandwagon now. But, man, UNC looked horrible. And Gio Lopez, I was surprised it took him as long as they did to bench it. Like, he went 2 hours without completing a pass. 2 hours. Like, just let him throw a screen pass or something just to get the monkey off his back. I saw they kept throwing the time up there. Gio Lopez, his last completion was at 8:12 p.m. Eastern time. He didn't complete another one until close to 10:30.
Yeah. And I think that what spurred him getting benched was he got knocked up, or he got knocked on the ground, went to the injury tent. But Max Johnson looked so much better when he came in.
Max Johnson came in and went 7 of 8 for 80 yards and a touchdown on the first drive. It's like, all right, why was he not starting the whole time? 48-14 the final. And I mentioned how bad of a weekend it was for Nick Saban. I mean, Saban on Saturday on game day was basically telling Thomas Castellanos how stupid he was. And like, you don't mess with Alabama. Alabama loses by 14. And then yesterday was just talking about how great Bill Belichick is and his development of players and picked him to win the game. And 48-14.
Man, I was telling Connor and Nick yesterday on Weekend Huddle, I'm like, you guys are going to learn about Josh Hoover tonight because I've been talking about Josh Hoover since last year, and everyone was picking UNC in the pregame. Who was the only one that picked TCU? Desmond Howard?
Yes, Desmond and Pat both picked TCU.
Okay, so they picked TCU, but the rest of them picked UNC. I'm like, guys,
Teddy and Nick both picked UNC.
Guys, you're about to learn about this TCU passing game. Kendall Briles, their offensive coordinator, son of Art Briles, who runs pretty much a similar scheme to what Josh Heupel runs at Tennessee.
It at Baylor.
And they learned about Josh Hoover last night.
I mean,
just saying.
It was domination in just all aspects of the game. Like, they had the passing game working. They had the 80-yard touchdown run on the first play from scrimmage in the second half. Pick six, scoop and score. That's about as bad as a team could look in week 1 for UNC. And you're right. Like Josh Hoover, he slides under the radar. The Big 12 in general, I think, just no one really pays all that much attention unless they're playing Colorado. But like the Big 12's got some dudes at quarterback.
They do.
Rocco
Plenty of 'em.
Becht. I love Robbie was very concerned about Iowa State's game against South Dakota this week. They won 55-7.
He should have been concerned about Kansas State.
Kansas State almost lost
to North Dakota. They had to have a walk-off game-winning touchdown.
Is this true? John on our text line says Gio Lopez is getting $4 million in NIL. That can't be right.
No.
Carson Beck's getting $4 million at Miami.
They're not on the same level.
John, if that is correct, you are 100% in the right saying NIL may be a little bit ridiculous and a bit of a joke. Yeah. Gio Lopez, the game looked too big for him last night. And for UNC, the TCU Twitter account, well done by them.
Phenomenal.
They tweeted out over and over, like, when does the first Hulu episode come out? And their video, I don't know if you guys saw it out there, but go and check it out. It's about a minute and a half long of just all these pundits saying Bill Belichick could have this team 4-0 heading into the Clemson game. Like, this is a team that could go 10-2 or 11-1. And the schedule is not that tough. You look at the rest of their schedule: Charlotte, Richmond, UCF for the rest of their non-conference games. And then Clemson is the only ranked ACC team they play. They've got Cal, Virginia, Syracuse, Stanford, Wake, Duke, and NC State. Duke might be pretty good. Cal looked good over the weekend against Oregon State. But outside of that, you're not playing a lot of good teams. But I don't think UNC is a very good team.
No, I got to read this tweet from Josh Pate. He said, the TCU football account ate like a death row convict last night.
Yeah, they did. TCU football on X. Congratulations. You won the night last night. They usually are one of those schools that does the brain rot video, right? It's them and the Buffalo Bills who always put those just like really stupid we won videos out, but they're always kind of funny.
Right.
I didn't see if TCU put one out. I might have to check here in this last
They
break.
also do the Hypnotoad thing.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was part of it. Yeah. The Hypnotoad. Ricky says he didn't get benched. He got hurt. Yeah. Whatever. I mean, he should have gotten benched before he got hurt because Max Johnson looked better. Max Johnson, I think the tweet of the night was Max Johnson is the same age as Jordan Hudson. And, I don't know if that's dawned on Bill Belichick, but having your starting quarterback being the same age as your girlfriend, interesting. And she was on the sideline at some point last night. Did you see this, Parker?
What, Jordan?
Jordan Hudson. Like, there's a video of her coming up and tapping Bill Belichick on the shoulder while he's coaching the game.
Oh, no, I didn't see
that. You didn't see this?
No.
I saw it this morning. I don't know if it was out there last night, but this morning there's a video, and I think it was Dov who I saw this from, Dov Kleiman, the aggregator account extraordinaire.
Yep.
But it's a video of Jordan Hudson on the sideline going up and like talking to Bill Belichick during the game.
I'm glad I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I just saw her up in the suites with Randy Moss, I think it was.
Yeah, she was with all like the greats.
Yeah.
But man, it's like Bill Belichick, if he had just ridden off into the sunset, I think we would remember him a lot differently. But now you've got the proof that Brady was more impactful on that dynasty than Belichick, which before Brady left, it was always kind of up in the air. Who deserves more of the credit? Now we know it was Brady because Brady went off and won a title by himself, and Bill Belichick put Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as his offensive coordinators. And then he tries to go to college, and it's been a mess. And I'm not just talking about on the field last night. Like, it's just been a complete circus around him ever since he took that job. And I don't see this ending well. I really don't. And who knows how long this is going to go on. Maybe it's just the 1 year. Maybe it's 2. But I don't think Bill Belichick is going to pan out at the college level. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to chime in. Last call for phones. I wanted to talk about the quarterback situation across college football because we've talked about how there are so many quarterbacks out there who could end up being the number 1 pick next year. A lot of them didn't look good over the weekend, but one of them I think stood out above the rest. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Final segment on this Tuesday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Been a fun show. Turron Davenport with us for the first half. Talked a lot of Titans and lots to recap around college football. Big weekend over Labor Day and a lot to get to. Before we get back into college football, I don't know how we missed this, Parker. Usually the text line alerts us when there's like Titans news that we haven't gotten to. Jordan Schultz reporting the Titans are signing former Cardinals linebacker Kaiser White. White had 137 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and 9 tackles for loss with Arizona last year. So there you go. Kaiser White is going to be added to the linebacker room, coming off what was one of his best seasons. He played and started in all 17 games for Arizona last year. Again, 137 tackles, 9 tackles for loss. So we'll see if there's a corresponding move there. I would think maybe it would be Dorian Mossy, who they just claimed from the Vikings. Trying to think of who else is in that room because they already cut Curtis
Seems
Jacobs.
about right.
Unless you're going to add there and cut from somewhere else, but it looks like Kaiser White going.
I think that's it because Cody Barton, Cedric Gray, James Williams, Mossy.
They cut Curtis Jacobs, right?
Yes.
So
he's on practice squad.
I would guess maybe they weren't sure they were going to get White, and so they brought in Mossy as a backup plan. But I would guess that's a corresponding move. Maybe they pull from another room and maybe a cornerback or something like that ends up getting cut. So Kaiser White, according to Jordan Schultz, will be signed to the Titans. More roster churning at linebacker, but a guy with experience that, if Cedric Gray or James Williams don't continue to develop, you've got a guy with some experience out there. Did want to get to some thoughts on the quarterbacks. And Parker, in February and March, all of the comments on our text line when the Titans had the number 1 overall pick was trade the pick and take Arch Manning first overall next year, or trade the pick and take X player first overall next year. And this is why you don't do that, because you had a quarterback who the league thought was worthy of the number 1 pick. You take him. You look at the guys who were in the conversation this year, and it wasn't a great weekend. I mean, we've already discussed Arch Manning having a rough start to his year. He looked lost out there for 3 quarters. He started to make some plays down the stretch, but then he still missed a couple of easy throws on that last drive that could have kept the game alive for Texas. Garrett Nussmeier, I thought, looked good. I think he was the only one. Sellers looked fine, too. I would say Nussmeier and Sellers came out winners from this week.
Absolutely.
Klubnik didn't look good. Aller, it was against Nevada, so it's like, I don't know how much you can really pull from that. But I think if you're looking for a winner of the weekend, I think Garrett Nussmeier might have made himself some money this weekend, doing it against what was supposed to be one of the top defenses in football with 2 top 10 picks on the defensive line. I get it. They only put up 17 points. It's not like he lit them up, but I thought he played within the offense. I thought he played well, and I think he's put himself as the front runner to be quarterback 1 in 2026.
Didn't turn the ball over, which is what he struggled with last year. But the whole thing about Arch Manning, how he played against Ohio State, which I will say is the best defense he will play all year, bar none.
Yeah.
If that is any indication, his performance against Ohio State is any indication of how this season will go for him, he's coming back to school. He's not declaring for the draft.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to just wait on that. Like, he may not even enter. So Drew Aller, on the other hand, is very interesting because he's a guy that has all the traits that you're looking for, like we were just talking about with Will Levis. The thing about Drew Aller is I don't think NFL scouts like the fact that he is sometimes timid with the football, not taking chances when he needs to. I think that's why they like Garrett Nussmeier so much, because he's not afraid to rip it in there, but he throws picks. So Drew Aller does not. So that's kind of the discussion around those two.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a big group up there among guys who have the potential to be first-round picks, but nobody has pulled head and shoulders ahead. And I think Nussmeier is probably about as close is probably the number 1 guy. I think Sellers is the guy that NFL teams are hoping has a big year because he's got all the physical tools, like big, fast, strong arm. If he has a really productive year with South Carolina, and he didn't light it up on Sunday, but he did what he needed to do to win the game. I think if he has a big year, he's the guy who teams will fall in love with and take early. But Nussmeier might be the safer pick. I mean, son of a coach, and I think Sellers, you're going more off of the potential than you are the production. But if Sellers has the production this year, I think he's going to be the number one pick.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think a sleeper that we're not talking about enough is Rocco Becht. I think Rocco Becht has a legit NFL future. Just watching how he played in Farmageddon in Dublin, he was an X factor for them. The box score may not show that because he completed, I think, 50% of his passes. But when a big play needed to be made, he made it, and he's been doing that consistently. So I think we should be talking about Rocco Becht a lot too.
That's a good point. And Jay from Laverne on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com, points out Michigan's quarterback, Bryce Underwood, looked good. Go Blue. It was against New Mexico. Was that Michigan played?
Yeah, and he's a true freshman.
He's a true freshman, he's got a while. But yeah, if you're looking ahead past the 2026 draft class, 2027, I think you're looking at DJ Lagway and probably Arch Manning.
That's what I think.
I would think those are probably the two guys at the top of that draft. Maybe a guy like Julian Sayin, if Sayin proves he can be,
he will be eligible
by next year. Not 2026, but 2027. Right. But yeah, 2028. If you're looking all that far ahead at the quarterback drafts, I think Bryce Underwood might end up being the guy that teams are tanking for. What's a good one? Go under the win total for Underwood, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
coming up with the slogan.
Yeah,
tank
already.
For Tua. Do you remember when that was a thing?
Suck for the duck was my favorite one with Marcus.
There was one for Burrow. Bust for Burrow. Was that?
Yeah, I think so. There's always good ones. I think go under for Underwood. That might end up being what it is in a couple of years. So he looked good. I think for 2026, I think Nussmeier's got the early lead. I think Sellers would probably be my next pick though, and Sellers going to have some opportunities this year to prove it in prime time that he can go be the guy. Again, he's what, 6'5" and jacked and
240
fast
pounds
and can make all the throws. If he goes out and he doesn't have to win the Heisman, but just like be in the conversation late, I think whoever is at the top of the NFL draft is going to fall in love with the potential. He's kind of what people hope Anthony Richardson could have been, I think.
Yeah, but the difference is you're hoping that Lenore Sellers has a lot more experience under his belt than Anthony Richardson.
Like Sellers will have 2 full seasons of college football under his belt at that point. Richardson was more of your project guy. Sellers maybe could be a plug-and-play guy. If, again, he's got to put up the production. So,
do you remember that play he had? I think it was on 3rd and 13 where he rushed for the first down, but he broke a tackle from Virginia Tech's defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Then broke a tackle from one of the outside backers.
Yeah, Caleb Woodson.
And then shook off a corner. And I'm just like, man, the strength on that guy.
Right.
Unbelievable.
It's like you need 2 guys to come get him. And that it was frustrating because, watching the game as a Virginia Tech fan, I'm like, man, we're not playing horrible, but the difference was the quarterbacks. When Sellers needed to make a play, he made a play. Drones didn't. And so we'll see what Sellers looks like the rest of the year, but it was a good start. Jay from Laverne also mentions Carson Beck. Like, don't forget about Carson Beck. I don't think he's a first-round pick. I think that ship may have sailed, but I do think people are going to take a chance on him, the raw talent, and maybe he ends up being that 2nd or 3rd round pick. I know I went through this with Corey Curtis last week about how taking quarterbacks with the 2nd or 3rd round pick is just pointless, but teams do it every year and it'll continue to happen. Taylor says sell for Sellers. That's a good one for this year.
Sell for Sellers. I like that.
It's going to be fun to watch these quarterbacks because it is a rare year where it's a good quarterback class. You just don't know who's the best of them. And it will probably fluctuate throughout the year based on how these guys play. But right now, Sellers, Nussmeier trending up, and Manning, Klubnik trending down after week 1. It was a great first weekend of college football. We got some fun games coming up this upcoming weekend. NFL is back in 2 days. Cowboys, Eagles on Thursday night. Tomorrow, Corey Curtis going to be with us for the full show. We will go through all of that and much more as the Titans get ready to take on the Denver Broncos on Sunday. Big thanks to Turron Davenport for joining us for the first half of the show. For Parker Kelly, I am Jake Lyman signing off. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next here on 102.5 The Game.